Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the NSAA, are the 78,000 high school sports and performing arts students in Nebraska. And so we
All right, good Tuesday morning. Woke up in the middle of the night last night.
That sucks.
It happens. You know, as you get older, you got to go to the bathroom. But I woke up, and all I could hear was Joe Buck in my head saying, "Ball got to come out! Ball got to come out!" That's when I knew that I'm a certified football guy. when that's what I woke up in the middle of the night and I was chanting, "Ball gotta come out! Ball gotta come out!" Last night,
It's creeping through the hole. Touchdown! Shark!
This is a safe place for Minnesota sports fans.
Oh, shame.
Because it's been a rough time since the Minnesota Twins won in 1991.
Should I just mark off BC for the day?
No, I think they won 14 games this year. They went 10-0 against teams that had a losing record. They went 4-3 against teams that had a winning record,
which is good, by the way. That's kind of that's better than most.
Yeah, it was a good year. It was an enjoyable year. But you weren't around back in 2008, were you?
I was.
You were?
I was.
You remember the stock market crash?
You know what? I only really found out about that because of The Big Short. You know that movie,
yes.
The Big Short?
All right, good. I mean, good recall.
I knew it occurred.
Yeah.
I knew it happened. Luckily, my family wasn't overly affected by it. But I learned all about it through that movie. So continue.
So like Sam Darnold is like the 2008 stock market crash.
The bubble popped.
Like looked really, really good. And then at the end of the day, that was Sam Darnold last night. Now, here's the thing about that game. And, we got screwed. We had 6 playoff games and 5 of them were terrible. They were just terrible games.
It was better than last year.
It was a terrible games. Last night I was excited to watch. Had multiple sports going on, and just like Troy Aikman, who didn't want to be there for the last 2 hours, that was like I was. But had a little scratch in the game, so I thought, you know what, why are we going to stick it out? But Sam Darnold had a problem last night. The Rams had use of a projector to watch some film, and once a team gets film on you, you're in trouble. But he wasn't the solution last night, and across the board, the Vikings were bad. Rams played well. Rams are a good team, but that's a tough way for a 14-win season to end for the Vikings. And now
at least the T-Wolves look okay.
They did. Ann had 41.
Hey.
And now an uncertain future for Sam Darnold.
He did something yesterday that I hadn't seen him do all year, which is hold on to the football for way too long. I mean, the Minnesota offensive line has been pretty good this year. And he just, there was about 8 sacks. I don't know. There was about 6 when I turned off the game. So there might have been 1 or 2 more.
I think did the Rams end up with as many sacks as the Vikes had points? I think we're 9 for 9.
Yeah. Darnold retired.
So,
Donald, Aaron Donald.
Well, Jared Verse and Fisk are like the future of that pass rush. I mean, both of them are rookies. First round, second round came from the same Florida State team and looked absolutely dominant yesterday. Their interior defensive line looked good as well.
Was it Verse that did the Jimmy Superfly Snuka?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. It wasn't called.
Anyway.
They're just kids.
Look, so let's talk about Darnold. Yesterday he looked bad. Yesterday he held on the ball for too long. Yesterday he made some really inaccurate throws. And it seemed like even the ones where he did make, like the TJ Hawkinson touchdown, he was like you could see him like biting down, being like, oh, I barely got that out. Like I was barely able to do that. I think it's in his absolute best interest to not even look at any of the other teams and just re-sign with Minnesota, because this is a guy who is still a good quarterback. Like you cannot deny the fact that he's had a great year. He's 6th in passing yards in the NFL. He was 15th in completion. He was 5th in touchdowns. He threw a lot of interceptions, 12, which was near the top. But still, he had a really, really good year. He was one of the top 10 best quarterbacks in the league. And it's still clear, though, that he doesn't have that superstar talent like Allen, like Burrow, like Mahomes, like Jackson that can propel him past maybe some of when it's not schemed up perfectly for him.
Yeah.
Those 4 guys that I mentioned, when it's not schemed up perfectly for him, they still can perform at a very, very high level. Darnold isn't there in terms of talent. He just isn't. So
he's a bridge quarterback.
He is.
And that's what he's about. That's what he's about to become again.
But I think it's in his absolute best interest, and I think it's in the Vikings' absolute best interest to just bring him back. Sign him to a decent deal. 3 years, $120 million. 3 years, $150 million. I mean, that's.
Hold on here, brother.
What do you think? You think
I was with you till you said
3
the
years,
money.
$120 million?
That's what he's Is that too high or too low?
Hold on.
If somebody offers that, you wish them well and be like, okay, you deserve
Really?
it.
No.
Go get your chase.
Where the market's at right now, guys? Because
Sam Darnold, $40 million a year.
do you see what Atlanta was paying Kirk Cousins? Do you see what Jacksonville's paying Trevor Lawrence?
They have something in common.
Do you see
They're
what
all
Green Bay
bad.
is giving Jordan Love?
$40 million. You would pay Sam Darnold $40 million a year
to be a backup?
to be a bridge quarterback?
Yeah. Well, whoa.
I'm with you bringing him back. But
First off, how these deals are made, it'll be a 3-year deal. It'll probably end out at 2 years. At 2 years, they can exit the deal. They don't have to pay a lot on the third year. Okay, so that's number one.
Okay.
Number two, there's absolutely 1,000,000% a benefit to J.J. McCarthy sitting for 2 more years, developing as a quarterback. We've seen that now multiple times happen with the Green Bay Packers, or more times than not, even with Mahomes, if you want to go back in the Rolodex, that works out for him. Now, Trey Lance is your other end of the spectrum. I do think, though, J.J. McCarthy has shown more in college football than Trey Lance showed in college football. Secondly, we're at the point here where this isn't an experiment with Sam Darnold. He had a good year. He played a whole year under Kevin O'Connell with the Minnesota Vikings, with Justin Jefferson, with Jordan Addison. It's known that in this system for a full season, he can be a very, very good quarterback. Where the market is at right now with what people are paying for quarterbacks, I think $40 million a year is a very reasonable mark. I mean, there were people on ESPN and NFL Network talking to him as if he was a $50 million quarterback 3 weeks ago. Joe Buck made a great point at the end of the game. He goes, look, he still had a great year. They won 14 games, but he's definitely lost money over the last 2 weeks.
Oh, so he became Sam Darnold again. And again, I'm with you. It doesn't take away. He had 4,300 yards, 35 touchdown passes. That's all legit.
66 completion percentage.
That's all legit.
And
but
he's
you know
throwing
what?
the ball down the field. He's not dinking and dunking.
He is a bridge quarterback that has a quarterback whisperer, and there is no way in God's green earth that I would commit that kind of money, even though you have good money on the salary cap, to him. This is why I'm glad that we're not in Minneapolis doing sports talk radio for the next 50 days, because they're going to debate before, March 10th? March 10th, and the season, the off season, whatever, begins March 12th.
So the Wolves best keep winning.
That should you keep Sam Darnold and move on to J.J. McCarthy? It's pretty clear that Kevin O'Connell gets to make the call. If Kevin O'Connell, who is a quarterback whisperer, thinks that J.J. McCarthy is ready, and you're talking about sitting him for 2 years, so you would be, by the time he gets on the field, he's in the 4th year of his rookie contract? I don't know if that's wise. But that's a wise move.
But the Packers did that with Love, and Gutekunst and Love's representation were able to make out a reasonable deal But
they had Aaron Rodgers, though.
No, I know.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers and Sam Darnold are in the same neighborhood.
I think Sam Darnold and Alex Smith are in the same neighborhood. But to be fair, back to your point, Alex Smith was only a year with Pat Mahomes, not 2 years, not 3 years. I'm just saying here, you won 14 games. The offense looked really good. The guy performed at a high level. You have a quarterback who, while you drafted him the first round, was the 5th quarterback taken off the board. That definitely has some limitations. That definitely has to get stronger. It would be a benefit to him to sit a year or 2 more. I think it's always a benefit for quarterbacks to sit for an extended period of time and then play.
I agree with that because I think it benefited Mahomes. But now you're talking the J.J. McCarthy. Remember, he didn't play this year. So you would be, by the time, in your scenario as the Vikings GM, he wouldn't be playing until his 4th year in the NFL. So essentially, he hadn't played football for that long.
Yeah. That's what they did with Love. It worked. It was fine with Love. It worked with Love. They won 14 games this year. He played at a really high level. And also, too, I'll throw it back to you at this rate as well. So Atlanta's going to hold on to Kirk Cousins. Okay, they're all reports indicate at this point they're going to hold on to Kirk because in their mind, it's not that they are paying $40 million for a backup quarterback. In their mind, they're paying $45 million for their quarterback room. Okay. And their quarterback room is a lot less than a lot of other people's quarterback rooms. It doesn't matter to them that they're starting the $5 million guy and the $40 million guy is the backup. In general, the Atlanta Falcons are still very low on the totem pole in terms of paying quarterbacks and being a team that has a good quarterback. I think Minnesota can look at that as well and say, look, yes, you can say we're paying Sam Darnold $40 million to be a backup. But once again, if he plays well next year, he's worth every single bit of that penny. And they won 14 games. And let's say, yeah, he does fall off and he doesn't play very well. And you put J.J. McCarthy in and he starts to play well. You're still only paying $45 million for a pretty good quarterback. I think it's a benefit to Sam and it's a benefit to Minnesota to keep him around because they know it can work. And that isn't always the case. That is not always the case in the NFL.
Don't they have a guy on their roster that just went through this scenario of $40 million with the Giants?
Yes.
Daniel Jones.
But I think what Darnold did compared to what Jones did was way more legit.
My hesitation on Darnold is that Sam Darnold, the version that we saw against Detroit and the Rams, who have tape on him. I mean, he was awful against the zone last night. He didn't get the ball out. He saw ghosts. Kevin O'Connell was limited in his play calling. Like, they weren't aggressive at all. Like, look at the end of the game. They were down 3 scores in the fourth quarter, and they had the urgency of an old lady crossing 50th and Dodge. Okay, and they were running the ball. It was
embarrassing at the end of the game.
So Darnold's inability to be a quarterback last night limited the play calling. I mean, look at they have Jefferson and Addison, and they weren't stretching the field. Because Darnold was not good last night, it handcuffed everything. Now, they were, again, he wasn't the only problem. Their offensive line got manhandled. Their defense missed tackles. I think they also got dinged by the call at the beginning of the game that took the Cashman scoop and score off the board.
Yeah.
But if I'm committing that kind of money, I have a game earlier this year against Jacksonville. I have the last 2 games in my head, and I'm like, we'd like to keep him. But $40 million is a lot of money for a guy that is going to be a backup sooner than later. And he essentially is a bridge quarterback that had a great year. I'm in. Thank you, Sam. You had a great year. Fantastic. We used you. You used us. Go get paid by somebody else because there is Tennessee. There is Pittsburgh. There's probably the Jets out there that could use you. But doesn't he look closer? Didn't he the last 2 weeks look closer to the Sam Darnold, Carolina, New York Jet than he did the Minnesota Viking previous 14 games?
Look great with the Steelers.
The last 2 games, yes. I think a vast majority of the season, he looked way better than that. And I think also, too, my $40 million number isn't coming from – that's low. In the quarterback market right now, $40 million is a low mark for quarterbacks at this point. I mean – Burrow is 55, Lawrence is 55, Herbert's 52, Jackson's 52, Hurts is 51, Prescott is 60, Kyler Murray's 46, Deshaun Watson's 46, Jordan Love is 55, Tua is 53, Jared Goff 53, Kirk Cousins, who's a backup, is 45, Matt Stafford is 40. So, I mean, that's 40 is on the low end.
But you're telling me J.J. McCarthy doesn't play until year 4, and he just missed the entire year due to an injury.
Yeah, that's not.
But
the Packers did that.
Pick.
That's not a novelty though.
But they didn't draft J.J. McCarthy to have him sit until year 4. Now they didn't know that Sam Darnold would be like this, but let's do it this way: the Vikings have a first-round pick. The Vikings have some cap space. The Vikings probably won't lose Brian Flores, so he'll be back.
They have a slew of free agents though that they're going to have to re-sign.
Okay.
Smith and Jones.
Is Sam Darnold good enough to win the Super Bowl? Because that's what this whole conversation is about. If you're going to commit that kind of money. Now, Daniel Jones got committed because they won a playoff game, ironically, at Minnesota, and they invested in him, and everybody went, "What are you doing?" And you saw how that ended up. He ended up as the backup in Minnesota this year.
It's a good question. It's not an immediate no for me. Can Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl with Kevin O'Connell? So here's what I was going to say before we got to.
So Sam Darnold wants to sign with Minnesota more than Minnesota wants to sign him.
Probably.
Okay, there. That's not a $40 million transaction. That's a good bridge quarterback contract, but I think he will, sticking with your number, I think somebody out there, because people that don't have franchise quarterbacks in the NFL are desperate. They will overpay for Sam Darnold, and the Vikings will go, okay, we got our quarterback of the future. Now, this all comes down to Kevin O'Connell. If he feels like J.J. McCarthy is ready to go, then you have extra money to spend on other places where you have to take care of those free agents, the ones you want to keep or the ones you want to acquire, and then move forward.
I don't think, though, that there
Build
is a downside to J.J. McCarthy not playing until year 4, because Jordan Love did it and Aaron Rodgers did it, and they've both panned out pretty well, and there's a benefit to sitting. But
again, it's Aaron Rodgers going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and Jordan Love's a pretty great quarterback.
But is Sam Darnold going to the Hall of Fame?
More likely to go to Dairy Queen.
Green Bay could look at Aaron Rodgers and go, we can still get to the Super Bowl with our quarterback.
Good point. It's hard for me to say, though, that, the last 2 games of the year, he was bad. But does that negate the really good quarterback play and the fact that they went 14-3? I mean, maybe it does. Maybe it does. There could be some people who can argue that. For me, if you're looking at the entirety of the season, we're talking about a guy who was great this year. Sam Darnold's great this year. It's hard for me looking at it. If I'm a GM, it's hard for me to look at a quarterback who played great and say, no, you're good elsewhere. We're going to take an unknown commodity who was the 5th quarterback.
Unknown commodity is
taken off the board. And I think that there is a proven benefit to guys continuously sitting. And yes, you can. It sounds weird. He's not going to play until year 4. Yeah, fine. I think that's totally.
I would love to
okay.
hear. We have quite a few Viking fans in our listening audience. I would love to hear their reaction to what they want to do. J.J. McCarthy sits until year 4, and you sign Darnold to a 3-year deal.
That's a lot of money.
You said 3 years, $40 million.
3 years, $40 million.
At least.
So Daniel Jones was 4 years, $40 million.
So 4 years, $40 million a year.
Be like the Herschel Walker.
I think it's on the. Go get paid. We turn the page.
That's on the low side. $40 million is on the low side for a quarterback who just put up the stats. But that he just put up. I mean,
$40 million paid to Daniel Jones. They thought he was his franchise quarterback. I don't think the Vikings envision Sam Darnold as a franchise.
That's why they tell Sam, if someone offers that, we're happy.
The Jaguars. Now this is probably general manager malpractice.
Yeah.
But the Jaguars gave Trevor Lawrence $55 million after he threw 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and 4,000 yards at a 65% completion.
And he was in his rookie contract, right?
And he was in his rookie contract coming out of it.
Okay.
And so Darnold, who had a way better year than that, is going to get less money for sure. He's not getting $55 million.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you. I do think someone else might give Darnold $40 million a year. I think the market is $40 million a year for Darnold. I just think that Sam, even if they go Sam 35, we'll give you $35 million a year as opposed to 40. He should say yes, because it's Kevin O'Connell, it's Justin Jefferson, it's Jordan Addison. It's an O-line that didn't play well yesterday, but overall this season has been pretty good. It's you're still with the guy who has rehabilitated your career. You're in a comfortable position. You got to like playing at US Bank Stadium half the season. I mean, that's got to be a pretty nice place to sling the ball around for your career. I think it's a benefit. I don't think Darnold should be looking anywhere other than Minnesota. But I'm not ready. I know it's been a bad 2 weeks. Now, yesterday, he was bad. Against Detroit.
He had another game against Jacksonville early in the year. So the version of Sam Darnold that is Sam Darnold had kind of started to show up at the end of the year. Again, teams have tape. The Rams and Lions have tape on Sam Darnold. And you look at the last 2 weeks, what they did. I mean, look, he was all against man coverage last night. He was really good against zone coverage, and they were only blitzing 4, and he was, deer in the headlights in the pocket. I don't know. I think it's great for both sides. They won 14 games. They got to the playoffs. Weird that a 14-3 team had to go on the road, but it is what it is. Go get yourself paid somewhere else, and we're going to move on. And thank you. And you've laid a nice little foundation here.
I don't think it's. I think they're going to have a really, I think, honestly, the conversation that you and I are having, I truly believe is the conversation that the Minnesota front office will be having. I think there are going to there are going to be people on your side who say, hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it. 14 wins. We won't forget it. Seriously, we won't. I mean, there will be people who will talk about for a very long time the fact that Kevin O'Connell won 14 games with Sam Darnold, but we got a first-round quarterback. And there will be people like me who are like, guys, why try for 2 bunnies in the bush when you have one in hand? We have a quarterback who had a really great season.
Bunnies.
We have a quarterback who is a first-round pick, but still needs to improve, was the 5th quarterback taken for a reason. There's a benefit to keeping him around and having him develop and having him learn the offense and having him ready to go. So I think this is both sides of the table here. At the same time, man, I'm with you in the fact that it's hard to erase what you saw in the last 2 weeks of the season, which is so.
I'm going to throw the Jacksonville game in because that was towards the tail end as well.
But his games against the
Jacksonville.
Packers and Seahawks the last 2 weeks of the year, I mean, he was absolutely stellar in both of those games. Falcons, he killed it.
No, we got a tweet from a Viking fan. This is from Husker Vikings 16. I wonder who his favorite teams are. Vikings fan here. They franchise Sam, maybe trade, maybe keep for the tag. 2026 is JJ's year unless he beats out Sam. You have no advantage paying him while you have a rookie on a good deal.
My world, Matt. I can't pay $40 million to a bridge quarterback in the NFL.
I mean, that's what Tampa Bay's doing. Paying 35 to Baker.
And who's he handing it off to?
Bucky Irving.
No. Who's his backup quarterback?
Sure. No one at this point.
Yeah, they don't have a guy on their roster.
Yeah. I mean, but Tampa, I mean, that might just be a really good deal that they got him to be fair. But that was a bad example. But with Darnold, I'll say this. Bridge quarterbacks don't win 14 games. And I know Aikman, I got mad at Aikman yesterday.
Bridge quarterbacks with Kevin O'Connell in 14 games?
At this point, yeah.
Okay. So
not historically, though.
So with that said,
Eric Kramer once won 13 games.
If Kevin O'Connell, who I really like, but last night, I think his play calling was messed up by Sam Darnold's night. They were completely off. If I'm a quarterback whisperer and I made the call on J.J. McCarthy and I developed Sam Darnold to have his best year of his career, what does that say about the guy that has been, got injured early? So I must know something. I don't know. I think this is a Kevin O'Connell call.
I totally agree.
I think this is. I
totally agree.
If he feels like J.J. McCarthy is ready to go, then maybe they find another bridge quarterback that comes in, and that bridge quarterback is going to compete for the job. Because if you bring Sam Darnold back, Sam Darnold is starting day one in 2025.
And it's not a conversation.
Yeah. But then once you decide to make a move, then you don't go back. I don't know that I want my money tied up like that, because I think that's got to happen sooner than later. Because you look at now, I mean, you have this window. Everybody in the NFL has this window with rookie quarterback contracts. This whole discussion, you haven't heard this before, but with me, this is why I think they should have a separate quarterback salary cap. So you could do what you're saying, but they don't. I wish they would have a different quarterback salary cap, and that would change things. And you could do your scenario. I just think that's a lot of money to be tied up to a guy that is not going to be my starter to get us to the Super Bowl.
Do you think
and we have other areas that we have to fix because we might be close.
Okay, let's talk about JJ real quick. Okay, the low hanging fruit is in an important game against Penn State. They didn't feel confident enough to throw the ball with J.J. McCarthy. Mm-hmm. I don't want to call it high-hanging fruit, but the counterpoint to that is, guys, they went 15-0. They won the national championship. Yep. He was everything he needed to be for that team. He was accurate. He was on time. Is the deep ball accuracy the best? Is the arm the strongest? No, but there's a lot of high-quality things that you like about about J.J. McCarthy. But as we stand here right now, do you think that J.J. McCarthy will be a guy who you can be like, he can definitely win the Super Bowl? More likely than not.
Isn't okay. So that's a fair question.
More likely than not, no.
But why did Kevin O'Connell draft him?
Because he had to. I think he had to.
But why him in particular?
Because he was the last one available.
So, but they could have traded up. They could have done something to move.
They tried. They tried so hard to get Drake May. I was all into it. I did a draft show before I got here in April. I did a whole 2-hour thing. Josh McCown coached Drake May in high school. McCown is the quarterback's coach from Minnesota. Yeah. They wanted Drake May. They wanted him desperately, and they wanted Can you imagine what we saw out of Drake May in New England? And if he had 1 year sitting behind Sam Darnold the entire time, that might be a different conversation than JJ. They wanted Drake desperately. They weren't able to get him because New England knew how great the guy was going to be. And so they just they stood pat and they took him. They wanted Drake. They ended up with JJ.
Yeah. Listen,
because they didn't know Sam was going to be this
Sam
good.
Darnold made this conversation difficult throughout the year. But 3 years, $40 million
I don't
to
think
a
that's
bridge
that
quarterback.
bad. But
you're
Gare,
having,
that's the max I would go.
Now
That's
you're
the max.
you're having JJ McCarthy not even play until his 4th year.
Well,
and then
more than likely, what I think
the clock is ticking on a rookie quarterback contract.
You give up the advantage. You give up the rookie contract advantage. At the same time, if they get rid of Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy goes out there next year and he's bad, which is something that definitely could happen.
Oh, I would expect him not to just burst onto the scene.
Screw the rookie advantage. Because that's what people were talking about. And I know it always my references always go back to Chicago, but it's what I know best. It goes back to Caleb Williams. Oh my God, he's on his rookie deal. It's on his rookie deal. I'm like, guys, if we're rebuilding and he's bad, it does not matter what deal he's on. You have to be competitive. So yes, I understand. While the guy's on the rookie contract, they have to win. At the same time, when you have the roster that Minnesota has on the offensive end, which is, I think that Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson, I don't want to make a bold statement right now without looking in front of me, but I would tell you more than likely they are the best wide receiver tight end trio in the league. I mean, you'd be very tough to defeat that. So when you have that, you cannot have a quarterback where you really don't know. With Sam, he's good. Is he great? No. But Trent Dilfer won a title. So at the same time,
that's fair.
Is Minnesota
that's fair.
having the 2000 Ravens defense right now? No.
Not
but it's still a good. But I totally understand your sentiment. It's a lot of money to give a guy who won't be there in 4 years.
I think this is again. I keep going with this. This is a Kevin O'Connell decision.
It is
because what was Kirk Cousins without Kevin O'Connell?
Bad. But Kirk Cousins before Kevin O'Connell in Washington was good. But he was better. He was better in Minnesota.
Yeah.
He was better in Minnesota.
What was Sam Darnold with Kevin O'Connell compared to his other stops?
Bust.
San Francisco, the Jets.
But let's give Shanny a little credit there too with Sam Darnold's rehabilitation. Shanahan?
Yeah.
He gets I give him a ton of credit for bringing him in and giving him confidence and having him, see the ball go through the hoop in practice in that one Christmas game against Baltimore. That did a lot. But you're right. It's O'Connell. It's Kevin's decision.
I mean, he's a quarterback whisperer. So that's why and you're valid and because these are not new what you're saying about concerns about JJ McCarthy. My thing is they got Kevin O'Connell.
So they got
Kevin O'Connell.
You're just KOC in KOC you trust.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If I'm a Viking fan, if I'm the Viking front office, because can you do again to Sam Darnold what you did this year
to someone else?
Can you do it to JJ McCarthy? Because you've done it now 2 straight quarterbacks in Minnesota.
Even Josh Dobbs looked pretty good when he was.
I mean, that's the advantage of Minnesota. I can walk down the path a little bit with you. This is not as easy a decision as looking at last night, but he's a bridge quarterback, and you have a guy, and you're unlike Green Bay where you had a Hall of Famer that was holding the job for Jordan Love.
Yeah,
you don't have a Hall of Famer.
No, but you have a good quarterback who did really well in the system, who is going to be throwing to very good weapons for an extended period of time, who led you to a 14-win season. And I absolutely hated yesterday that Troy Aikman went on national TV and said their 14 wins is all for naught. It means nothing. Absolutely not. Get out of here with that. 14 wins is something to be proud of. That is hard to do. And I know that they're not going to hang a banner that says 14-3 2024 season, but it's still something where it doesn't mean nothing. Okay. So they had a bad matchup. It was a bad matchup against a really good pass rush against a Super Bowl winning quarterback or coach and quarterback. There's a whole other discussion.
Hall of Fame coach and Hall of Fame quarterback.
I was about to say there's a whole other discussion to be had about Matt Stafford and how he is underappreciated, considering the fact that guy. Do you know where Matt Stafford is in all-time passing yards and all-time touchdowns?
He's up there.
He's just guess. Give me guess.
He's like 13th in passing yards and 6th in touchdowns.
He's 10th in both.
Okay.
He's top 10.
He's also won 5 games this year as an underdog. Vikings were a favorite yesterday. Don't forget about that. Vikings were a favorite going into that game.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Cha-ching.
All right.
Cha-ching.
Coming up on the show, Sam McEwen will stop by at 7:30. Viking fan Brian Christopherson at 9. And this will be a good discussion. Dan Jackson, new head football coach at South Dakota State, the pride of Omaha Burke. His wife's parents are huge Viking fans. Look at this. This will be a J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold discussion. Again, I imagine being on a fan of Minneapolis for the next 50 days to discuss this before they have to make a move on Sam Darnold.
You know those phones. I feel bad for those producers who are going to have to screen those calls and pick up those phones.
Oh,
Good
I'm sure
Lord.
pays well.
Good Lord.
Go see Ant.
Plus, we will talk a little football. We got Creighton Providence tonight at the Chai in a game that is a must-win. Providence played pretty well the last 2 games. Also, Nebraska's opponent on Thursday night, Rutgers, saved their season last night against UCLA. We'll get into that as we roll till 10. The lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard with Gary and Matt and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in on a Tuesday. Should have known that the Rams were going to win last night. You know how I knew the Rams were going to win last night? Not only the emotion of Los Angeles, which shout out to the firefighters and also the pilots. So
those videos have been incredible.
The pilots that are dropping down into the Pacific Ocean to load up the belly with water. Oh, unbelievable scenes that are coming out of there. Some that look like a movie. Others that are, firefighters and the pilots and people that are on the front line doing what they're doing. Because speaking to my brother yesterday, and this isn't going away anytime soon. But I knew the Rams would have the emotion last night. Great crowd there.
It was.
But when I saw Cooper Kupp
not used to seeing good football there.
When I saw Cooper Kupp was warming up and he had braids, I said, Vikings are done. Vikings are done. The Vikings are done. The Rams move on to take on the Eagles. Last time the Eagles and the Rams played, Saquon Barkley ran for a yard or two. What did he go for? 255?
Yeah, something ridiculous like that. Didn't he break the record? Didn't he break the Eagles single game rushing record?
The four are we guaranteed 4 really good games in the next round?
Eagles. So
we're guaranteed one that could be an instant classic.
Lions and
the Commanders.
That will be good.
Which
Ravens, Bills, and then Chiefs, Houston. I think
2 of 4 will be bangers.
You have 2.5.
Oh, I like.
Okay, so Bills, Ravens.
Bills, Ravens will be great. Eagles, Rams will be great. And then I really do think one of Commanders, Lions, or Houston, Kansas City will be a really good game. But Kansas City doesn't play, and you know this. Kansas City doesn't play a style that is for great games.
Don't blow people out.
They don't play those great styles.
Mm-hmm.
They just win.
They'll win 27-13.
By the way, the Ben Johnson angle in the Washington game is interesting.
The Ben Johnson angle in every single game is interesting at this point.
But with Washington, you remember last year when he was up for that job, he canceled the interview while the Washington brass were in the air flying to Detroit. He made some comments about Washington. And then the other element of that game is, the Commanders, 5 straight games have come down to the final play.
That was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah. And somehow they drafted a rookie quarterback that's got the clutch gene of Joe Montana.
Oh, and they played a rookie quarterback? Here is Mike. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good, Mike.
Good. Hey, you wanted views from Vikings fan, but I can't help you there. But I can give you a view from a Packer fan.
Oh, I love it.
I hope they pay him $40 million. I hope they pay him $40 million for 3 years. That'd be awesome. Because you keep talking about Green Bay, and not just because I'm their fan, but they're an exception to the rule. That don't happen very often where you get them sit like that. I mean, it's not happening all over the league. And you keep saying that. They did that with Love. They did that with Rodgers. But you know who also had one great year? Matt Flynn had one great year. So I hope they do pay him that much money.
Well,
what they should do is franchise him for the 1 year, and then after that, it's McCarthy's show. And then if they really wanted New England's May that bad, or Caleb Williams, or whoever above McCarthy, you have to go get him in this NFL. You have to have a franchise quarterback to be relevant in the NFL. So, and now this year they got 3 draft picks. Now they got a lot of cap room, but they ain't got very many draft picks. So I don't know. I hope they pay him. Pay that. There's way more bad film on him than good film.
I love the rivalry in that division. You probably also want Mike McCarthy to coach Matt's team.
I'm down.
I hope he goes to the Bears, baby.
The interview's Wednesday.
Man.
It's really.
Good luck, Mike.
Mike, I don't mean to.
Bear down.
I don't mean to go at you.
Thanks, Mike.
I mean, Mike. First off, you're paying your quarterback $50 million a year. He had a way worse year than Sam Darnold did. Jordan Love had 25 touchdowns. That's 10 less than Sam Darnold. He had 11 interceptions. That's only 1 less than Sam Darnold. He threw for 1,000 less yards than Sam Darnold did. When the Packers paid Jordan Love what they're paying him now, I was running across the streets of Chicago. I was so happy. I go, great. Half a really good season. Pay the guy $55 million. Great. Also, too, I hope the Bears get Mike McCarthy. You mean the guy that helped coach you? So your only Super Bowl of this decade, or of this century, the only head coach. You had all those years of LaFleur and Rodgers together. Rodgers 2 MVP seasons, and they couldn't even get to the Super Bowl. And you want us to hire the one guy that helped to get a Super Bowl? Okay, fine.
Laugh in my face. Division.
Laugh in my face, man.
Your
quarterback had a way worse season. His quarterback had a way worse season than Sam Darnold.
They all hate each other.
I hate that my quarterback is tied for 12th in quarterback salaries in the league. I don't know if we're gonna be able to compete when we're only playing our quarterback $45 million.
You guys,
it's over.
I don't know how we're gonna survive. I'm surprised that Mahomes hasn't walked.
Just hang it up. He's won a couple Super Bowls. Take care of the body.
What was the turning point of the Kansas City Chiefs that they just became this absolute?
They hired Andy Reid.
They hired Andy Reid and they got 15 at quarterback.
Can we have a quick Mike McCarthy discussion here?
Yes, I will tell you this. I think he would be a really good hire for the Bears because he is going to
people like him.
He's going to lower your ceiling and raise your floor.
Okay, so I'm going to give you
he'll help Caleb.
Mike McCarthy's record all time: 174 wins, 112 losses. He's 11-11 in the playoffs. I'm going to give you
make a wish.
Three other coaches records, all time, and then playoffs.
Is this going to be a Tomlin thing?
Okay, so
because this was popular yesterday. Who would you rather take, Mike McCarthy or Mike Tomlin?
So Tomlin's 183, 107, 8-11 in playoffs. Okay, here's another one: 172, 104, 10-13 in the playoffs. One Super Bowl. Who is that? It's a different, not Tomlin, different head coach.
Give me his numbers again.
172, 104.
Sean Payton.
10-13.
Vermeil.
No.
Dick Vermeil. Didn't you say current coaches?
Current coach.
Oh.
That's not Sean Payton?
Not Sean Payton. It's John Harbaugh.
Okay.
Okay. So practically identical. Mike McCarthy's got a better playoff record, but 8 more losses in the regular season.
I think in a good place and a good front office.
I told you last week. I said when the Cowboys denied. Now, that was a sleazy move by Jerry Jones.
Sleazy.
Yeah. But I told you. I said don't put out your fire yet because it'll come back around. I think if it happened, I think it'd be a really good hire for you guys.
Can I give you one more?
Sure.
195, 124, 12-14 in the playoffs. No Super Bowls.
So it's not Sean Payton.
It's technically it's
not Andy Reid.
It is Andy Reid. It's Andy Reid.
Andy Reid has won Super Bowls.
Wait. It's Andy Reid before he got to Kansas City.
Okay.
Still pretty.
It's before he got to Kansas City.
Look at
the winning percentages are similar. The playoff record is better than Mike McCarthy.
Partner, pull up a chair over here, okay?
This is
how the game of football works.
Give it to me.
If you got a quarterback, you got a chance. Look at how many coaches in the history of the sport are not attached to a quarterback for either the good or the bad.
Zero. Zero.
So no one's gonna. Andy Reid got to the Super Bowl though. Okay, with Donovan McNabb.
Yes.
So I don't. Yes, Patrick Mahomes changed everything, but every head coach is tied to the success of their quarterback.
So Mike McCarthy for me, and I want to make this very clear, is not my number one target. Okay,
oh, no,
he's not my number one guy.
Your number one guy is
obviously Ben Johnson.
Okay,
my number 2 guy is Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
Okay, my 3rd guy would be Brian Flores.
Okay,
so he's not even in my top 3. But I just want to make it very clear that I don't. Everyone is laughing about it and making jokes about it. And
who is your one?
Ben. Okay,
Johnson.
That's what I thought. Johnson, Kingsbury, Flores. But if they were to hire McCarthy, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Would I be absolutely thrilled? Would I be, oh my God, this is a great hire. Bears are going to be great. No, I wouldn't. I'd be like you said, he raises the floor. I'd be worried about when we get to the
lowers
playoffs.
The ceiling.
And he lowers the ceiling.
He'd help Caleb.
He'd be a good hire.
But this franchise has been so bad and so dysfunctional and has just done this over and over again, bringing in the flavor of the week offensive coordinator and just every year. I think John Fox was the only head coach that they ever hired with previous head coaching experience. That didn't go well, but that had way more to do with what was going on in the front office than Foxy. So I'm telling you right now, would I be running around the streets of Omaha so happy that they hired Mike McCarthy? No. But I'd sit down and be like, you know what? I can do this. I can muster this. The guy's a professional.
Brad Muster.
The guy knows what he's doing. Yeah, the guy can win games.
I think you'd be good. I think you'd be fine with that hire. I think Bears fans
I would
be
adopt
fine.
the Bears for you. You know what? Because he's a good man. He deserves a decent place.
And I might be the only one.
He would be the guy. So he's the guy that knows how to deal with dysfunction in your front office.
Mhm.
I mean, I would think if I'm a young coach that's my first job. And remember, the Bears aren't very good at developing first-time head coaches.
No, they're terrible
because they've got a bad front office.
Yes.
Okay, so if you had a veteran guy that just dealt with a dysfunctional front office where you have an owner, GM that's into headlines and drama, but yet you won some football games.
Yeah.
Still have that blowout loss at home to Green Bay on your ledger, but you still won some football games in
fit
Dallas.
In with the Bears.
I don't know. I think it'd be a really good hire. I think the thing that the Bears have done is they built up Ben Johnson so much that what if Ben Johnson doesn't leave? Now I think Aaron Glenn's going to be the Jets head coach.
Yeah,
but what if Ben Johnson doesn't leave? Then you're going to be like, oh man, but you might get Mike McCarthy, and again, I think it'd be a good hire for you.
You don't think that they're going to sit him down? They're going to sit Detroit's going to sit Ben Johnson down and say, okay, look, we get it. You want to be a head coach, but here's an exuberant amount of money to just stay comfortable here and keep doing what you're doing here. And maybe if, hey, you didn't get the job that you wanted, which probably is unlikely. I think he's going to have the pick of the lot. I mean, Detroit's going to try and keep him, and it's going to be tempting. It's going to be tempting. Be interesting to see.
Probably won't go to Dallas, and neither will Deion Sanders. Who
what do you think about that? How are you feeling?
Go all in for the circus. I don't care anymore.
No, Deion last night said he's not.
Oh, so much for the
circus.
Yeah, so it's all set up for them to hire Jason Witten. At which point I will then go get
all hat, no cattle.
The quote from Deion was, "To hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful and it's intriguing. I love Jerry and believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it and think about it, it's intriguing. But I love Boulder and everything there is about our team, the coaches, our student body, and the community."
I don't blame him. I prefer Boulder than
you
Dallas
know what it made sense because they have a great relationship. But think about it. At the end of the day, one is some 30-year-old vet in the locker room going to call Deion Sanders Coach Prime, and also is Jerry Jones going to hire somebody who takes the headlines away from him?
Exactly.
That's why Mike McCarthy was like the perfect hire. Because it still stayed all about Jerry.
Big Mike could be Big Mike, and Jerry could be Jerry.
Yeah,
that's another thing too.
Jason Witten, come on down.
What's going to happen?
I hate my team.
What's going to happen when Micah Parsons is walking around the locker room and slides, and then Coach Prime's like, "Gotta take those off."
Yeah, 30-year-old vet's not saying Coach Prime. Maybe you trade Micah Parsons and a couple of picks to Pittsburgh for Mike Tomlin.
Do you want to fully blow it up, Jim? Are you just like,
yes? I don't even need to hear the rest.
You're done with Dak. You're done with CD.
I'm done with everything.
Micah,
you're asking the wrong guy. He's ready. He's ready for Staubach to come back and Tom Landry to be on the sidelines.
Oh, that fedora.
Sam McEwen's coming up the next hour, and Gary and Matt, 1620 The Zone. little old school Jimmy on the ones and twos today. Hey, was
It
there
just popped in my head.
Hey, was there controversy last night here in Omaha with ABC carrying the Vikings-Rams game? And they carried the pregame show as well.
Can you say that again?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Andy aired the Vikings last night. He pressed the button.
KTV aired the so they had the simulcast, which I don't know why the college football playoff has not done more of that.
They have it with McAfee.
But no, like the college football playoff air on ESPN and ABC.
Oh.
So you get because the college football playoff has been strictly cable, right?
Yeah.
Except for a standalone game. But there hasn't been any simulcast. But the NFL simulcasts a selected amount of games for their ABC and ESPN, of course, owned by Disney. But last night, did we have controversy in Omaha when at 6:30, when Bill, Julie, Rob, and Andy say goodbye, they went right to the pregame and they skipped, which I think is one of the most popular programs on KTV.
Entertainment Tonight?
Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, yes.
I can't believe that KTV bowed down to the network to preempt Wheel of Fortune.
And done that to Steve Harvey.
People,
give me an S.
People in New York do not understand how powerful Wheel of Fortune is in this town. Look at Jeopardy is monstrous. Doesn't WWT air Jeopardy twice?
I think so.
I mean, they
popular. In
most
retirement
places do
communities.
news at 6:00. Channel 6 does Jeopardy, and they air their news at 6:30. That's how big Jeopardy is.
Were you
Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune town? I bet there was outrage. I bet there were phone calls yesterday.
Jeopardy, the Zoo, and the CWS.
Were you a Jeopardy guy or a Wheel of Fortune guy growing up? What did your family watch?
Both.
Okay. We were Wheel of Fortune.
You have to choose?
No, I mean, you don't have to choose.
How awful country is that?
But we did Wheel of Fortune. We were a big Wheel of Fortune family. We weren't really a Jeopardy family. Not until my brother got married and his wife is a massive Jeopardy person.
It's a good woman.
And so when they would like stay over and whatnot, you know, during the holidays, we would watch Jeopardy. And that was the first time I've ever really watched it before. I was bad. I was terrible.
Oh,
but like
I thought you'd be good.
But then then they went on YouTube and they were like, Matt, can you like try something for us? And I was like, okay. And there's a playlist on YouTube where it's all sport Jeopardy, where it's just like they have all the sport questions for Jeopardy.
Yeah.
And I did pretty well there. I did pretty well in that.
I wish Sports Jeopardy would have taken off. There have been a lot of different.
Have you watched those episodes on YouTube?
Yeah,
they're pretty great. I love them.
They've tried. They just have never taken hold. It's more like a summer programming.
Yeah. Thanks to you, I watched 94 Colorado, Nebraska on YouTube yesterday. But
they were.
Eric
We
Wolford.
did. We were like pre-gaming before we went out to the bars, and it was just all guys who love sports. I was like, oh, let's put this like Sports Jeopardy thing on, just to like watch and drink beers, whatever. It's like just different than music, you know. And they had a section where they show a park, a baseball park, and you have to guess just based on the outline what that park was. I killed at it. There was one that popped up, and they were looking at it, and they're like, how are we supposed to know? I go, that's PNC Park. Sure enough.
Good.
Know your parks, man. Know your parks.
So
Three Rivers in there.
I did this thing over the holidays with friends of mine. We were doing, buddy of mine is in the ticketing industry, and he would send out seating charts with like references that he had taken out. So you just saw the seating chart and you had to guess the stadium.
Wow.
I will tell you, one of the hardest stadiums, if you just look at the seating chart and there is no reference to particular sections or streets, the ballpark in Houston. If you've ever looked at a seating chart in Houston, there are no seats in left field.
All right.
Oh yeah,
So that was like the hardest amongst all of us baseball guys. But no Wheel of Fortune last night. I bet the phones were blowing up.
You
They're
go to Wheel of Fortune?
Get Scott Van Pelt off my TV. Where is Ryan and Vanna?
First Pat retires. Now this crap.
Friggin' A, they're trying to push Wheel of Fortune out. But
One more week.
I've heard people say that Jeopardy does monster ratings in this town, which is not a surprise.
Well, I know that I was on like
Bet Livy didn't know that.
Political like Instagram reels, and they were talking about the importance of Wheel of Fortune. How during election season, Wheel of Fortune is massive because it's like
Really?
that's like the most voting population. The people who vote the most are watching Wheel of Fortune. So to have
I believe
political
it.
campaign ads during that time is massive, and it costs a lot of money to have political ads during Wheel of Fortune. And so when they like collect money and they're getting their donations, a lot of that money goes to Wheel of Fortune ads.
That, and if you're between the ages of 50 and 80, you could be at risk.
Jeff Jackson, who was the former
hockey coach.
No, he was a former senator, I think, in North Carolina. Now he's like the district attorney over there. And
not up on my North Carolina state government. He
became very popular through TikTok. I believe it's Jeff Jackson. He was like a congressman.
Was he the one that got in trouble?
Yes, because he became popular.
That's what you had to say.
He became popular through TikTok.
Clarence Thomas.
People knew who he was through TikTok, and then he was wanting to ban TikTok, and everyone's like, "No one would know who you are, buddy." If it weren't for this app, and now you want to get rid of it.
So this is what's going to happen. A little quick thing here, and then we'll get Andrew, who's been holding about TikTok. I'm a huge fan of TikTok. I think TikTok is awesome. Okay, I've had nobody from China visit my house since I've been on TikTok. Okay, I'm somewhat addicted to TikTok. I very rarely make TikToks. If I did, I would tell you. But TikTok,
please do.
TikTok is very entertaining. Like TikTok is great for movies and shows.
Yes.
Like Landman started to take off with little clips on TikTok, and people go, I got to watch the show. And look what Landman has
Suits got that's literally the entire redawn of Suits happened entirely through TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
So in this state, they're trying to ban TikTok. Of course, the Supreme Court, like Friday, TikTok's supposed to be done. This is what's going to happen.
Okay, give it to me. I don't have it.
Trump is going to save TikTok, and he will look like the conquering hero. When at one time he said, I don't want TikTok, and then he said TikTok was great because TikTok helped him during the election.
Then he'll be making TikTok.
That's my prediction on what's going to happen with TikTok is Trump will save TikTok, and I'll be able to look at my TikToks, and these people that are making content, like right here in Omaha, like Husker Eddie, they'll be able to stay on TikTok, and I will be able to see clips of my shows on TikTok.
TikTok. I love how you say it.
TikTok. Now, TikTok won't go away. They just won't get you updates. So if you want TikTok, you better download it now before Nebraska comes and takes it out of your cold-blooded, dead hands.
He's already come after the hub. He's coming after your TikTok.
I mean, Jesus, we can't get mobile gambling. We can't get mobile sports betting in this state, but we're going to get rid of TikTok.
Can I do? I do.
We can't get super speed rail between Lincoln and Omaha, but let's get rid of TikTok. We can't get good football in this state, but let's get rid of TikTok.
Keep going.
We got to have Fred Hoiberg air fresheners, but we got to get rid of TikTok.
Hey, our coach is better looking than yours.
Are they going to have a guys' night? If they're going to have a ladies' night, are they going to have a guys' night?
What's a guys' night?
You get stuff.
It's ladies' night, Thursday night to PBA. So just call it Thirsty Thursday, okay? But they're having ladies' night. They got to have a guys' night later, right? Somebody's going to sue.
No, always.
They'll be like, this is not fair.
Guys' night would just be dollar beer night, and all they sell is brats for $1. Dollar brats, dollar beer.
And your problem with that is
we will get to the promotional idea that was announced yesterday. Everybody just go and focus on saving TikTok, not the promotion that is on Thursday night at PBA. All right. Woo! With that said, there is basketball tonight.
TikTok.
I'm telling you, I don't know why you're not on TikTok. TikTok's the place to be. Let's all get on TikTok.
Now you're embellishing it. Now you're really like TikTok.
Let's see. I'm going to bring up TikTok right now. You guys want to know what my first TikTok is? What's going to be on my first TikTok?
The fire.
Now.
Hello? Have a seat. Thanks.
Get ready. The dump button is ready.
I just want you to.
It won't be.
I don't have much. How do you want your cut? Honestly, anything.
Okay.
It's just a TV show. It's a movie.
It's a movie. It's
wholesome.
TikTok. So maybe I see that clip and I'm like, I got to go get that movie. That's how it works.
It's art.
That's how it works. It's called promotion. It's called drawing them in. Got to save TikTok.
TikTok.
I got Mike Hilgers down in Lincoln trying to get rid of my TikTok. Give me hey
TikTok.
Hey, let's stop worrying about getting rid of TikTok and let's go get ourselves a tackle, okay?
TikTok tackle.
All right, here is Andrew. Good morning, Andrew.
Andrew
is not there.
Andrew.
He's out on TikTok.
Go. Maybe Andrew did not enjoy the TikTok conversation.
I don't have it. I do like Instagram Reels. I'm one of those toxic people who are like they'll ask you like, "Oh, you want TikTok?" Toxic? And I'm like, "No, I'm not on TikTok." And I'll act as if like I'm, cool or like I know how to save my time because I'm not on TikTok. But then I'm saying it like unconsciously TikTok.
Even
I
have
spend like 6
happens.
hours a day on Instagram Reels.
So it happens. People are falling in love on TikTok. people are eating better food because you can see stuff on
They're
TikTok?
eating a lot of cottage cheese. A lot of cottage
Trying
cheese.
not to say anything. Just trying to be good.
Michael writes into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally about Mike McCarthy, who is out as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
a
how
little bit of
about
a
that?
sleazy move. Big Mike couldn't interview some of the open jobs, but also kind of hamstrings the Cowboys. But I imagine that Jera has a plan. Does not include Deion Sanders.
Tim Riggins.
All hat, no cattle. If the Bears hire Mike, what place does he come in if you're ranking the 4 coaches in the NFC North? I'll let you rank them. Let me just give you the candidates. You have former Omaha Beef backup, Matt LaFleur. You have Dan Campbell. You have Kevin O'Connell, Mr. No Ego, but was hamstrung last night with his play calling because of his quarterback. And then you would have Mike McCarthy. The ranking of the 4 in the NFC North.
Oh, if McCarthy were to be hired?
Yeah, we're just going to go with
Okay.
Michael's question. If
He'd
that
be
was your
fourth.
4.
He'd be 4th. But any coach that would be hired by the Bears would be 4th. I want to make this very clear. Ben Johnson is the number 1 hire, slam dunk, without a doubt. Okay? Done. I like Kingsbury at 2.
When Ben Johnson doesn't get hired,
I know.
this shoulder is for you.
I like Kingsbury at 2 because Kingsbury is a good offensive coordinator and he's worked with Caleb Williams before. They're familiar with one another. And the most important thing is the relationship between Caleb Williams and the head coach. And I think it's really important to have that. The fact that they have familiarity with one another is very, very good. And looking at what the Commanders did in the offensive end this season with a rookie quarterback was incredible. Yes. Do I worry about what happened in Arizona? Absolutely. Injuries, though, were a big factor to that. Kyler Murray getting hurt for a majority of his run there. I mean, they did go 11-6 in one of the seasons, but I still like what he's done and how he's rejuvenated his career after that. I like Flores, and it's probably stupid to want a defensive coach for the Bears, and I understand his history.
But at least he's been a head coach.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so that's my thing. I know the history with Tua, but number 1, I really do think he's learned from his experiences in Miami.
Agree.
And when he wasn't alienating people on his way out, he was a damn good football coach for Miami, and Miami was really competitive. And so Flores, with the character flaws, if he can get past that, is a really, really good head coach. But that's the thing. Can he get past the character flaws? That's going to be a question. No matter how you spin it, though, whoever, if they don't hire Ben Johnson, there's a negative to every other candidate that's out on the board.
I'm trying to prepare you.
You're going to find a way
the
to...
shoulder will be here for you.
You're going to find a way to slice it up no matter what. And I get it. And that's just kind of... So at this point, I've done the weird thing and not be pessimistic when it comes to the Bears. And I'm just going to look at the positives of every single candidate. Because, Cliff Kingsbury failed upwards as a head coach. And he's almost like... He's very comparative. He's very comparative to guys who are just good OCs and not good head coaches. And Brian Flores absolutely alienated himself and practically ruined his career on the way out of Miami. And in Miami, even though I call him a really good head coach, they were probably just above average and never went to an AFC championship game. And Mike McCarthy is another guy who has just been mediocre with really good quarterbacks and really good rosters and hasn't overachieved ever in his career. Okay, those are all 3 negatives. I understand all 3 negatives. I understand that all 3 could be considered a bad hire. But I am sitting here as a guy whose team has won 1 playoff game in the last 14 years and hasn't had a winning season in 6. Okay, so I'm just going to look at the positives of everything. And you can tweet at me and you can comment at me and you can tell me how bad of a hire the Bears are going to make. I don't care. Okay, I'm a lonely, losing football fan, and I'm only choosing to look at the positive of my football teams. Okay?
Damn.
Wow.
Good thing you're going to that game tonight.
Hey, this shoulder is here for you.
I appreciate it. That's why you're a good friend.
I think Mike is a good hire. I think he would be a good hire for you.
I think so too.
And I'm not saying that to have your franchise go in the toilet even further. I just think he would be a good hire.
If
He would stabilize things.
Caleb Williams was not my quarterback, I'd have a very different outlook.
Would you want Sam Darnold?
No.
When we come back, we are 225 days from tailgating in the parking lot at Arrowhead, ahead of Nebraska, Cincinnati.
Jesus.
No. That's on the 20th. That's
So
a week
we have
from
one
tonight.
more game in college football. The schedule is dragged out too long. Okay,
couldn't
we got to
agree
change
more.
it. We got to end the college football season on New Year's Day. We also need games to be airing on ABC.
With AI Keith Jackson.
Oh, no. FanDuel has released some 2025 win totals.
Oh, let's do it.
Is Nebraska's in there?
Let's do it.
Weird that you release win totals
So weird.
while the rosters are still moving.
Yeah.
Penn State had a good day yesterday.
They had a great day yesterday.
We'll do that when we come back. Sam McEwen, bottom of the hour. Is Nebraska going to spend some money on a big old tackle? I could rap with this. I could do the lyrics to this song around a tackle.
Do it.
It's only Tuesday. We're back with more after this.
Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the NFL playoffs. Which players are going off, which ones aren't ice cold. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. With their pick'em game, you could win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and more. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. And every dog deserves a second chance. And with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose. This week on Underdog, I am looking at the NBA because, well, the bowl season's over. Yeah, there's one game, but there's a lot of NBA games, and you can win very easily, very quickly, and quite a bit if you do it right. Underdog is the best place to play Pick'em. Download the app, sign up with promo code ZONE, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code ZONE. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, coming up here in a little bit, Sam McEwen's going to stop by. Again, 225 days before Nebraska takes on Cincinnati. Prepare accordingly. Make sure you look at all the quarterbacks that Nebraska is going to face this year and wonder if John Butler will have the RPO fixed. Penn State had a good day yesterday. They lost their defensive coordinator, but the quarterback is coming back. He has some room to improve. That Oregon game early will be a nice test, but both of their running backs are coming back, Allen and Singleton. They got a big defensive end that's coming back. They've already added 2 pretty good wide receivers out of the portal. There's going to be a lot of hype for Penn State with what they have returning in 2025. But James Franklin is the head coach. With that said, FanDuel has released some win totals, which is wild.
Let's do it. Can you bet on them? Can you bet on these win totals right now?
Bet on everything.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. This doesn't make
Just not
sense.
in Nebraska.
that These win totals have been released. But you know what?
What type of sicko is betting on 2025 college football? Really? You're going to bet on
No,
these?
I just had a stretch there. People are watching on 1620 of their own TV. College football has become year-round, which is fantastic. So here are some win totals. I may or may not get to Nebraska's win total on FanDuel. Alabama 8.5, Colorado 7.5. Deion is coming back. How many schools around the country already have a list of Colorado players they would go after if Deion left?
It's a special.
But he
card.
said late last night that he is staying in Boulder.
Meh.
Georgia 9.5, big year. A lot of pressure on Georgia in 2025 with Carson Beck leaving. Michigan 8.5. Michigan will be in Lincoln September 20th. North Carolina 7.5.
Okay.
Notre Dame.
I would take that over. That's That's one over. I would bet.
Notre Dame 9.5. They got a pretty good schedule.
Yeah, they play Miami early on in the year, and then I think they got a. They still go. I got to look at their schedule.
Ohio State 10.5.
Oh my Lord!
Week 1, Ohio State, Texas, and people are still trying to further the conversation that Quinn Ewers will go back to Ohio State. I think they got a pretty good guy on campus that is a 5-star. But Ohio State, Texas, week 1. Hey, week 1 in college football is a banger. Absolute banger.
So wait, what was the Notre Dame?
It's a banger.
What was the Notre Dame?
9.5.
I would take that. So they play Miami to begin. Miami and Texas A&M. That's definitely their 2 hardest games. But then after that, the next best game is USC. They play Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, USC, Navy, Pitt, Boston, NC State, Syracuse.
Where's the Arkansas game at? Is that South Bend?
That's what I want to know.
That's at Fayetteville. Fayetteville.
Man,
that might be
Can
tough.
you imagine the Hogs in South Bend?
Yeah, that'd be Lincoln.
Imagine the fans. What would be the reaction to touchdown Jesus?
I would take 9.5. I would take.
Be a lot of repenting.
We've seen that mural in downtown Fayetteville.
You don't think Quinn Ewers to Notre Dame?
I think Quinn Ewers is going to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
I think he'd be wise to go to the NFL. Penn State 9.5. Again, Penn State's last home game is against Nebraska. Whiteout. Huge game.
Hopefully.
Penn State has Oregon, and then they have a trip to Columbus. And then Texas is 9.5, and we don't even know if Sark's going to stay.
Yeah.
Those are
Is that it? Is that all you got?
So
Okay.
Nebraska's win total is not out there. I would think that Nebraska's win total would be 7.5. And I don't think that'll change. I think Nebraska's win total will be 7.5. When we get closer to the season and these come out more like, Bet GM and more with FanDuel. But if you want to be a sicko, like Matt alluded to, it is the 14th of January. The portal is still kind of open. And remember, Notre Dame and Ohio State, their portal window, they still have to play, but then their portal window opens.
Yeah. And there could be some really talented now.
Discuss amongst yourself win totals for the upcoming year that are released in mid-January.
I would legitimately bet North Carolina over 7.5. And it's just because I think that it has nothing to do with what I know about the roster, who they're bringing in, or what they got, and everything to do with the fact that I just think Bill Belichick is good enough to win 8 games in the ACC on his own.
Is he good enough to win 8 games as a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm listening. They have buddies.
So it's so
off.
interesting to me. Like, how do you feel if you're North Carolina that you've committed all this money? You wrote this. You've agreed to this 400-page manifesto about what needs to be done in order to get Bill Belichick. You string all of the resources together. You milk every single last ounce you can get out of your boosters and your athletic department and even just the school in general.
Like the Jets after
to
Parcells.
get this done. And still, Bill Belichick is not only just getting calls from teams, but he's taking calls from teams, and he's flirting with them a little bit. I mean, Tom Pelissero confirmed. Tom Brady called Bill and said, "Bill, what about Vegas?" Now, obviously, I think that's kind of gone.
true.
I
His
don't
new
think Bill
girlfriend
wants to
would
go
like
all the way
Vegas.
across the country.
And
do
you'd pick
that.
up if I was Bill Belichick, I look at my phone and the GOAT called.
But
I'd answer.
it's so interesting to me that he called. There was a report that Bill called the Jets before he took the UNC job to see if they were interested, because all you ever heard was how much Bill hated the Jets, even from his days from being a Giants coach.
He took the North Carolina job because he was afraid of not being a coach this upcoming year.
I would take 7.5. That's something I would bet right now.
What you're saying is the same thing that goes on at Colorado. Remember, Deion has never, ever, and I knew Deion when he was in Southwest Florida coaching his 7-on-7 team, and he was trying to help Noel Devine. He has never in his lifetime not coached his kids.
So, but that's the
but if I'm a Colorado fan, I mean, Colorado wouldn't be able to compete with the money that the NFL would throw at him. But all of this stuff about he could go here, 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 here. Again, he denied last night that he has, said thanks but no thanks.
Can I throw?
I would be the same way with Colorado. Be like, okay, when is this going to end?
Can I throw out something stupid to you? So, let's say you're a team at the top of the draft, whether it be Tennessee, Cleveland, New England. Who's got the third pick? New England has fourth pick. The Giants. You're one of those 4 teams. I would, if I were the owner of the team, I would be begging my GM to pull a Houston. And what I mean by that is Houston, a couple drafts ago, got C.J. Stroud at the second pick, and then out of nowhere, traded up to 3 to go and get Will Anderson.
Okay.
Right? And they went number 2 and number 3. And it was because the owner wanted CJ and D'Amico wanted Will Anderson. Okay. And so that's why they did that. If I were the owner of my team, I'd be like, guys, is there any way we can get Shador and Travis?
Well, that's a good point. So,
because the money-making machine that you could produce from that, it does not matter what market you'd be in. If you had both of those guys on your team, not only would the NFL be like, oh my God, we love you, but you would make so much cash if you had both those guys on your team.
So here's the issue. All hat, no cattle staying in college. But if you are Deion, and let's say you do have an interest in the Cowboy job and they're going to pay you $15 million and that's what you want to do, you would not commit to that job until the Cowboys had committed to trading like Dak to the Giants.
Yes.
Or trading something to get Tennessee's pick so you can ensure that you get your son. You would not agree to that. So that's why I don't think this had any. It just had, he's a name. There's a relationship there. You love headlines. You love drama. You mention it. You move on to Kellen Moore.
You got to realize too, though, like
I would take that. That actually makes sense.
You think people getting on me for wanting Kingsbury? Kellen Moore is even worse.
No, they're not going to do that. They're going to do something stupid.
You're not going to hire the head coach in Dallas will not garner more headlines than the owner.
I totally agree.
So,
but with Deion, back to Deion real quick, like that, the whole like Shador's number 2, like when he got in front of everybody and said, all right, numbers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys on this team. Not everybody's going to get the number you want. So if you have a number and you have a number, if we think you're better than him, we're going to give you that number. Okay, that's how this is going to work. None of you are going to get number 2, though, because Shador's number 2. None of you, like, if you got number 2, forget about it. That ain't going to work. That would not work in the NFL. That would not, daddy's boy walking around, grown men would not like that because they're not in college. You are surrendered to the head coach. You are at the beck and call and will of the head coach in college. In the NFL, it don't work like that.
I wonder what the TV ratings for Colorado football will be like next year. I was thinking about this the other day. I was flipping through the channel.
Lower.
I probably watched more Iowa women's basketball games from start to finish last year than I ever have in my life. And I grew up when Vivian Stringer was the head coach at Iowa, and I was in a record crowd in Iowa City, by the way, 22,000. The fire marshal in Iowa City was beside himself. They played Ohio State, Carver Hawkeye Arena, 22,000 for a women's game. It was great. Iowa women's basketball was like bumping under Vivian. Yeah. And then she got sideways with Dan Gable in the wrestling program, and the rest is history. But I had not watched much Iowa women's basketball until Caitlin Clark. And so I watched like a lot of games from start to finish. I realized this the other day because they were playing Maryland. And and they've lost 3 in a row, and I only know that because I watched like 5 minutes of the game. I haven't watched an Iowa women's basketball game.
Yeah.
But I'll watch Indiana Fever play. I wonder how much we'll watch Colorado because I enjoyed watching Shedeur and Travis Hunter play. I don't know that I have an interest in watching a Colorado team next year with no interest. It's not my school, it's not my team, with either one of those not there.
Do you think Shedeur might jump Cam in the eyes of NFL owners because of that, because of the fact that whoever he gets drafted to, it's instant eyes immediately? Because let's be honest here, Cam Ward is just I got to be very careful how I say this. The sentence I'm going to say is Cam Ward is just every other NFL quarterback prospect. And what I mean by that is a lot of NFL quarterback prospects are very big or very strong or very accurate or very athletic, right? Mm-hmm. Cam Ward is not ordinary. Cam Ward is going to be a hell of an NFL prospect and has the opportunity to be a great quarterback. But in the eyes of just the draft, there have been a lot of dudes who possess those characteristics, right? Shedeur has those characteristics, a lot of those characteristics with the arm, the accuracy, and the quickness, but he's got the brand. He's got the name. He's got the instant eyes. Cam doesn't, right? Cam is, hey, that's Cam Ward. He can be really good. It's a little bit like when Stroud joined the Texans. Hey, that's CJ Stroud. He could be very good. Shedeur has that unique, that's Sanders. That's Deion's kid. There's been a lot of people who've watched more of Shedeur Sanders than they have of Cam Ward. True. People know his playing style. People know what to expect when seeing him, and they're intrigued by the storylines and the interest he brings to playing football. I think owners, despite the fact that Cam Ward is probably a better prospect than Shedeur Sanders, the fact that Shedeur brings instant news, instant talk, might level him above Cam Ward because owners can just put their fist down and say, you know what? If it's that close, we're taking Shedeur. I think that could be a factor when it comes to the NFL draft.
What also going to be a factor is people go, why is Milroe coming out? Why is Quinn Ewers coming out? Why did Aller? Because the quarterback draft this year is
no.
It has the feel of 22.
I do think
feeling 22.
I think though there's enough.
She'll be at the game on Saturday.
Yeah, she will be. There's enough above average college quarterbacks in the draft that I think there is one of these 3rd, 4th round dudes who will pop. I couldn't tell you who.
But going back, so this ties back into our conversation in the first hour. That's why if I'm a Aaron Rodgers, I'm a Sam Darnold, I'm a Kirk Cousins, you're going to have options.
Oh, yeah.
You will have options.
Yeah.
One of those guys is a Hall of Famer that is going to be labeled a bridge quarterback, but because of the quarterback draft this year, and there are some that need a quarterback, those guys are still going to have a place. But we are building up to the 2026 draft.
So I'm looking at the list of, like, Drew Aller, I know that didn't look great against Notre Dame, but that could be a guy who you could take in the 3rd round who might pop, Curtis Rourke maybe could be a guy.
Now Aller is coming back.
Oh, Aller is coming back. I forgot about that.
Yesterday.
I was looking at this. Yeah. PFF is not updated in terms of who they have on the NFL draft board. I should have known that already, though. Yeah.
Curtis Rourke will be an interesting NFL guy.
Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord had a good year in the ACC. Yeah. I know a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth after that Michigan game at the end of the year. The fact that Ohio State felt like in order for them to get to the national championship, which they did, they needed to get rid of him. He still had a really good year at Syracuse. And I don't think that's anything to sneeze at. Now, the ACC isn't the best conference, but
he still threw for 4,000 yards.
He still played well. Jackson Dart could be a dude, too.
All right. Coming up, Sam McEwen of the World Herald stops by. We are almost done portaling, or are we? We'll get into that with Sam. And at some point, you got to stop portaling. You have to start developing.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. You're preaching the choir.
Sam's next, 1620 The Zone. All right, now we go a couple of days without football. This time next week, we'll be talking about Notre Dame or Ohio State winning a championship. Back-to-back Big Ten, maybe. Sam McCune of the World Herald joins us. Good morning.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
Hey,
I'm all right. I'm doing okay.
Sam, you're a Bears fan.
Yeah.
How do you feel about McCarthy?
Did they hire him this morning?
No, they haven't. They haven't.
That may have just answered your question. His reaction.
No. He is set to interview on Wednesday, so tomorrow. But how would you feel about it?
Well, he's a quarterback guy, and so he'd have an opportunity to work with Caleb Williams. I'm way more pragmatic in a lot of ways than some other Bear fans. I think the coach matters. I think the quarterback matters. I think they really actually need to figure out their stadium and get a dome. They need to get a dome on the stadium. I think Green Bay gets to be the one franchise that enjoys the cold weather in the NFC North. The other two teams play in a dome, and Green Bay is a very soft media market. Not trying to criticize Green Bay at all, but you go up there and you have relative privacy or whatever you want to call it. In Chicago, you're going to be scrutinized all the time, and I think they need to get a dome. So in order to attract players who want to play, in Chicago, Mike McCarthy would be an interesting choice. Obviously, they've gone with a guy like this before in John Fox. It didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
I would be interested in Mike Tomlin, and I feel like Tomlin needs to decide whether it's really going to be anything's really going to change in Pittsburgh if you never have an opportunity to get a young quarterback. And the Bears have one. And I think Tomlin would, if he left the Steelers, I think the Bears would hire him tomorrow. I think a lot of franchises would, but only the Bears have a quarterback that's kind of a known quantity and had his moments this most recent year. So, I think that would be interesting. I would like to see the Bears play that out. But McCarthy, he had success in Green Bay. In Dallas, he actually had some success, but so much of it was tied to whether Dak Prescott was healthy or not. He would not be the worst hire. He wouldn't be as bad as Matt Eberflus, I don't say.
Well, that's a low bar, Sam.
Mark Trestman.
It is. Again, there's a lot of things that I think would help the Bears franchise beyond just who's the coach.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take 5 to 10 years to figure all those things out.
Let's talk college here. Let's talk local. Because we're waiting on the New Mexico State offensive lineman to pick a school. It depends on who you follow. It's Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Michigan, Nebraska, which is not all of them are created equal.
No.
But before we talk about Pete, what's your gut say what the future involvement looks like for a guy like Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran moving forward into 2025?
Well, I think you have to get those guys on a football field and see how it goes. And Prohaska's now many knee injuries in, so I think you have to be really thoughtful about what that's going to look like going forward. And then Corcoran, I do believe that Corcoran could one day just turn the corner and all of a sudden he's completely healthy. That could happen. I think I don't know that I've understood his issues with his feet and ankles to be chronic. I think there's probably going to come a day, and it may come in the NFL, when that guy's all good and he's able to play 3 or 4 seasons uninterrupted. I don't know if that last season comes at Nebraska or not. I think it'd be great if it did. A healthy Turner Corcoran's a pretty good football player. So Prohaska, I think, I don't know how you can determine that until he gets out on a field and does it for a whole spring camp and then really does it for a training camp. I don't know that he's going to be available for spring camp. I think they have to be thoughtful there. That's why I think they're going to get 2 tackles.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you knew that Prohaska was going to be healthy and he had played all this last season, I think they would have probably stood on just Pritchett. But the reason that they're going to get 2 is because there is genuine uncertainty about whether Prohaska is going to come all the way back. And then I don't exactly know what the situation with Corcoran is. So I'll have to dig in more to that.
Sam, so let's take us back to last year, right? There's no 105 roster limit. You can have as many guys on the team as possible. and Nebraska's coming off of a 5-7 season, and they decide to take a very limited amount of portal guys. You go a year later, they go 7-6. There is now a roster limit set at a fairly, low 105. And they decide, despite having a better record and despite having a roster limit, they're going to add upwards of 20 guys from the transfer portal. Why the stark change in, I just guess theory or strategy when it comes to the transfer portal when it seems a little bit backwards, right?
Right. So I think part of it is that they had a lot of guys that they were going to have basically ride for 2 years.
Yeah.
We all know who those guys are. And they had a lot of them on the team. And they had, some upperclassmen, some guys, and obviously in 23 and then again in 24, the Robinsons, the Hutmakers. Plus, they lost some of their most productive players on defense who they may have projected in a perfect world to return. So Jamari Butler's not coming back.
Yeah.
So you have to replace Jamari Butler. You have to replace Mekhi Bayer, which they have. I think they have a chance to be better at backer this upcoming year in some ways than they were this year.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to replace certain guys who left who were also very productive at Nebraska. And so I think that's some of the reason. But this is why, when people, this is going to become a year 3 conversation now. And the challenge that Coach Rule has, and he's up for it. He is, I think he's confident in himself. But one of the challenges is they could have been better in year 2.
Yeah.
And they had a chance to win 9 or 10 in year 2, and they didn't get that done for a variety of reasons. And now in year 3, and rest assured, half the media won't care anyway. They'll be like, year 4 is going to be whatever. But now in year 3, it was 10 wins at Baylor, and it was 10. I think it was 10 wins at Baylor at 10.
I think.
And so year 3, you got to win 10, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That was the formula, right?
Right.
And so, when I would tell people, no, that year 2 is the year. They have all the old guys. The only thing they had to plug in was a quarterback, and he's pretty good. The 7-6, they're kicking themselves. They probably wish they'd have gone 9-3.
Yeah.
Now they got to go 9-3 with kind of a new roster and a slightly tougher schedule. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Hey, I enjoyed your weekly rewind and the Monday column about defense because, that's a history of Matt Rule has had a good defense. We don't really worry about it, but now it's a new defensive coordinator. How do you think it'll be different? Because the defensive coordinator for basically the last decade has been a back-end guy working with defensive backs. Now all of a sudden he's in charge of the whole defense. How do you think that'll shape how he forms this defense?
I think what they want it to be is a defense that creates more turnovers, right? So schematically does a lot of diverse things that fool quarterbacks and frustrate them and creates turnovers, kind of like the way the Buffalo Bills did this year.
Mm-hmm.
I know he left there, but kind of like that. And then, it's going to get after you in the red zone and try to push you out of there and try to make plays there. And an aggressive and attacking defense, I think, is what they find. A little bit more like Tony White's first unit, but a unit that creates more turnovers, that creates more chaos in the back end, that uses some different coverage strategies. I think that's probably what they ideally want. And I think they're going to get that. I think the question is, can they get a 4-man pass rush? Can they do the things they want to do to create the versatility in the back end? And the jury's out on that because they have to replace every single one of their best pass rushers.
Sam, let's go to the offensive end. New look, completely new look wide receiver room at this point, and they're still waiting on a commit or two to do that. We've kind of been through this, though, a last couple of years, bringing in wide receivers. I mean, it's kind of been the same song and dance even before Matt Rule got here. Why is there any reason to believe that bringing in these guys will be any different than bringing in the dudes that you had in the past?
Some of those dudes are pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take Samari Toure and Trey Palmer.
Yeah, good point.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So, I'm okay with bringing in transfer receivers if you don't feel like you have on the roster the level of athleticism and experience that Dane Key brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Hunter is someone that I think they really like. and he's young, so he's got 3 years of portal, 3 years, whatever you want to call it, eligibility left. And then the guy from Kentucky, I think, is a replacement for Lloyd.
Yeah.
And then Jonah Wilson is one more, and I can't candidly tell you exactly what the one-to-one replacement is there. I know they think a lot of him. Sometimes you get a guy in and he becomes the player that you want him to be. Sometimes he doesn't. So I'm sure that's something they're going to examine when he arrives, and he's going to have to perform and produce very quickly. I don't know exactly what his compensation will be.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the Dane Key is a big time player and will probably help them out a lot. He reminds me of he's obviously not quite the same build or anything, but
sure.
He reminds me a little bit of Kenny Bell. I don't know that he's quite as fast as Kenny, but he's fluid the way Kenny was, and he's athletic, and he'll block a little bit, and he's good after the catch. Kenny was really good after the catch. People tend to forget that. So, he reminds me a little bit of that, a little bit of Teray, who was a very good player at Nebraska, aside from one or two moments. So, there's things about Key that I think everybody's going to like. And then you add the freshmen, you add Cortez Mills and you add Isaiah Mosey, and then maybe you add Jeremiah Jones. We don't, again, people are telling me, well, he's going to play this position. Okay. Well, let's see that happen.
Yeah.
And then let's see if Pierce Mooseberry's best position is linebacker or if it's tight end. I think his high school coach might say, his most recent high school coach might say it's tight end. I'm curious to see once Matt Rule gets these players in here, what his assessment of them is on the grass. Like Matt's going to make those assessments off tape, right? But once you get him here and then you kind of watch him move around, I think Rule is like his former coach Joe Paterno, who's like, yeah, that guy's going to be that, and we're going to move him.
Yeah.
And so I'll be curious to see those two, Pierce Mooseberry and Jeremiah Jones, are equally talented on both sides of the ball. Where they end up, I'll be intrigued to watch. But Jones is penciled in at receiver. Maybe they had to tell him. I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with Jeremiah Jones. But that's the third guy that you like. Well, that guy could be big time if he plays receiver.
So, in my man cave, I have him listed as an ATH on my big board.
Yeah.
But talk tight end to me, because you brought up tight end, and he's 6'5". I mean, let's first start. That was a huge save for Nebraska on signing day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of upside there. He's 6'5", 217. We know what Carter Nelson's size is. We kind of look at the other tight ends that are still here. What do you envision? Because I can look at wide receivers and go, they want big-bodied wide receivers. I can look at cornerbacks and I'm thinking they're going with taller cornerbacks. The future tight end position at Nebraska looks like what when you look at measurables?
That's a great question. I think that Carter Nelson and Heinrich Harburg tell you one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can those guys block? The fact that Dana Holgerson likes playing Luke Lindenmeyer a lot tells you that Dana Holgerson wants a guy that can run, that's compact, that can block, can catch. And Lindemeyer's not 6'5", 215. He's a little bit shorter. They've got some guys in that room. I assume they're going to stick around. Eric Ingwerson's got ability. Ian Flint's closer to a Lindenmeyer type. And then again, Jeremiah Jones, is he a tight end? Is he a receiver? I think some of that depends on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can clock people, whatever you want to do. But once they get here, then you have a better understanding of like how they measure up with other college athletes. And it's possible that Jones will play tight end. He could play receiver. He could be an outside linebacker. You just don't. You want to get him here and figure it out. Carter Nelson is moving to tight end. I think that's a good move. I understand why they tried to dabble at wide receiver last year, but ultimately I think Carter at the next level would be a tight end, and I think they're going to give him a chance to thrive and shine there. And he's going to be competing with Heinrich Harburg for playing. That's the bottom line. I think Lindenmeyer is going to have a job no matter what happens, but I think Harburg and Nelson are going to battle for snaps, and that's a heck of a fun matchup because they're both great athletes.
What do you think is the ideal archetype for the next what the next special teams coordinator will be? What's the ideal type of guy that you think would fit the mold of this team and this staff? And do you think they'd be able to get someone who kind of fits the description you're about to give me?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could hire a lot of different types of people in that role. You can hire a rah-rah young guy who, is on his way up and wants to be a head coach one day or something. You could hire an old hand, somebody who maybe was a head coach and is, in maybe the last 7 or 8 years of their tenure and knows everything that needs to be known about special teams. You could go that route. And then you've got some other guys that have been lifelong special teams coaches, and that's their expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do best. And so I think you could see, one of those three options in play. There's a lot of different ways that you can go at it. I think head coach emphasis is the most important thing. Does the head coach emphasize special teams? Is he all over that? Is that the level that you need to be at and demanding and all of those things? Yeah, last year I think Nebraska got caught with a long snapper, which is a rare reason to struggle, but I think that's probably why they struggled. And so I think they feel like they've resolved that. We'll see where it goes. I'm not trying to say it isn't important because Nebraska special teams has been awful. Really since Scott Frost got there. There was 1 year in 22 where they were okay, but they weren't great. And so, they haven't been very good on special teams in the time in the last 7 years. So finding a strategy that works and sticking with it will be important.
Sam, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great week.
Sam.
Hey, God bless.
That's Sam McCune of the World Herald.
Sam McCune.
Is he a God bless guy?
I've never heard him say that.
I've never
before.
heard him say God bless. Maybe that's a New Year's resolution.
Maybe it is.
Maybe Sam has found God.
We like that.
Not anything wrong with that.
Somehow let's
Nothing
go
wrong.
back to
More,
Notre Dame.
more people should.
Absolutely.
I'd like to find a left tackle. Some would like to find God. We're just different how we go about our business.
But, apples, oranges, apples, tomato, tomato, potato, potato.
I mean, Dan Jackson will stop by at 9:30, and when he signs off, he'll say, "Go Jacks." Sam just dropped the God bless. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I
We're going to have a better day today.
Is that a new
I wonder
thing?
if that's going to be a new trend.
Yeah. Is that like Sam's thing now?
Sip's been doing it, though.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to make a shirt. The Triple B is listening. Talk tight end to me. That was such a great. I had to hold myself back from interrupting Sam when you go, and you kind of said it a little like breathy. Talk tight end to me. Just talk tight end.
It wasn't like that, was it?
No, it's kind of haunting.
Yeah.
You're like talk tight end to me. Talk tight end.
I mean, tight ends can be football porn. I didn't know that I went
Fullback.
We don't have a fullback anymore. We don't run the I formation.
Yeah, you like the fullback.
Who runs
like
the ball?
Fullback?
All right.
Skern, my bad. I'm sorry, guys. I turned this real weird real quick.
No, fits right in.
God,
fullbacks and tight ends. That's
And
a
Bears
Triple B
coach Mike
shirt.
McCarthy.
hey, that is a Nebraska football fan right there on a day where you wake up and you praise God, and then you start talking about
The
fullbacks and tight ends.
And not just any tight ends, blocking tight ends.
Man, Johnny Mitchell was
Oh my
ahead of his
God.
time.
Transfer Brewington.
People don't give Junior Miller enough credit.
God, Jack Stoll can set an edge like no one else.
Monty Kratzenstein is the nicest guy in the world. I know he's listening.
Oh, was I supposed to?
No, I'm now in the 80s. I got to stay out of the 80s.
God, if Liebentritt, how he just went up the A gap.
Now, don't discount that. When he got injured, that changed a little bit of that offense.
Massively.
Did Barrett Liebentritt getting injured cost Marcus Satterfield his job? We'll talk about it coming up in the 8 o'clock hour on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. Hour number 3 of Gary and Matt. Jimmy is here as well. This is a group that I would like to see in concert. Coldplay. So Coldplay.
I would love to too.
Coldplay, like now that Taylor Swift's tour is over, there might be more groups that are going back out on the road. Like last year,
She gonna get with Chris Martin.
Beyonce and Taylor, they sucked the oxygen out. So they're out on tour. They're playing in El Paso. They're playing at the Sun Bowl.
I kind of
Nice.
love going through artists like tour dates and appearances and seeing like the weird places they go to.
Like
they
Pearl Jam
are
going to
so
Montana.
you want to hit Northern California, and if you think about where are you going to play in Northern California for an outdoor show, they're going to play at Stanford Stadium. That's perfect. It's not super huge.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Once hosted the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now it looks completely different.
Much different.
So they'll be at Mile High. They're going to Allegiant Sun Bowl Stadium.
They're on they're overseas right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but that's their first American date is Stanford Stadium.
How about
I heard
this?
Sal on the stream early Coldplay.
Hey.
Really good.
Hey, how about this? Let's go, Dannon. Coldplay is playing at Camp Randall July 19th.
Man, what won't that Luke Fickle think of next?
Dude, you're on the 19th.
Is that the best win by Wisconsin
all year?
Yeah.
They get Coldplay
Miami.
July 19th.
They
That's
got
like getting Steve Miller there
They
back
got
in
a
the day.
really brief stint in America. They really don't stop here for that long. Like it's not too many. They don't go to. They go right from. I'm pretty sure they go from Camp Randall to London. Camp Randall to the United Kingdom.
A lot of people do.
Yeah,
I think that if you fly out of the Milwaukee airport, I think it's a direct flight.
Right to Heathrow. Yeah. That Big
and
Ten
then they go
Maps
to
commercial
Canada.
is just.
So how the hell did Camp Randall get? That is so random. That is so random.
Well, think so. They redid.
Chris Martin
they
played for Barry Alvarez.
They redid Camp Randall.
Yeah, I did know that.
I don't know.
But why
I can't
Madison? Like you're in El Paso and
hey,
Miami, and
now-
then Denver,
now-
and then Canada, and then you go to Madison. I like Madison. Don't get me
check
wrong.
Madtown is not bad.
Madison's fun. I've
Beautiful
been there.
time
I've been
of
there
year,
multiple
middle
times.
July. I didn't know that Camp Randall hosted concerts, but they get Coldplay. What does Nebraska get? Garth?
Country.
Bud
Later.
versus Canelo
Not in Nebraska.
in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Is it Canelo coming to
Bud.
Lincoln?
Is this going to be
Nebraska?
another bad take?
Bud versus No, this got a bad take. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying it'd be really, really cool.
That which was put out there over the weekend, like nobody legit in the boxing media has confirmed that. That
I think-
Canelo and Bud are going to fight in September.
They're working on it. They're working on it.
They're always working on stuff.
Oh, they're working.
So it was proposed that Bud's next fight was going to be the same weekend as WrestleMania in Vegas, and he would fight at T-Mobile,
That'd be terrible.
and then the WrestleMania would be at Allegiant.
Why would
But
would they want to
Bud
compete
is
with Mania?
Bud's working through some things right now.
They're working on it. They're working on it.
They're always working on it in boxing, and it never happens.
They're working on it.
You got any insight?
They're working on it.
You got some insight?
Yeah.
Well, you can't just say that. You're making people think that you got some insight.
I think
Let's
they're
go.
working on it.
Spill the beans.
I think they're working on it.
They're always working on it. They talk through the
But
media.
that's the problem
They talk
with-
through social media.
That's the problem with boxing, though. It's just like these
You
guys
think?
are so obsessed with the zero. They're so obsessed with. That's why I like Canelo. Like I think Canelo is kind of
Canelo would be the bigger draw than Bud.
Yeah, Canelo's gotten
For
to the point a
money-wise.
little bit with as like kind of Kansas City Chiefs area where he's just been around for so long and he's won so much that people get a little bit tired of him. But that's a guy who's not afraid to lose, and I respect that so much in boxing because that is the main problem with that sport now. There are way too many organizations, there are way too many titles, there are way too many brands, and there are way too many boxers who are afraid to lose. You know, and they just want that one big payday. They want to get a lot of money, and then they want to stop boxing. And it's not how it used to be, you know? When you back in the day when Roy Jones Jr. won, when he won a big fight, he goes, I'm the best. I want to keep beating people. I want to keep fighting people. I want to keep winning. Nowadays, when they fight and they win, they go, well, I want to go back to my ranch. I want to go back to my mansion. I want to go back and, you know,
Tyson
rest
wanted
up
to
for a
eat
little
children.
bit.
Tyson didn't go back to his ranch.
No. Why'd you bring up his name? Because now all I have is that picture of his ass in the Netflix fight against Paul. I think the last fight for Bud Crawford will be in Memorial Stadium.
I think that would be incredible.
And it'll be against a tomato can. It won't be for big dollars.
Yeah.
It'll fight there, and then that'll be it.
I wouldn't mind that whatsoever.
And we're getting closer to that than we probably want to think.
We should have a contest, a zone listener fight Bud in Memorial Stadium.
Bud would be Bud versus Canelo, though, would be the biggest fight since Pacquiao Mayweather. Or what came? No, McGregor Mayweather came after. So it'd be the biggest fight since McGregor Mayweather, for sure, without a doubt. Honestly, they could kind of promote it as boxing's last super fight, and I think a lot of people would dig that because it probably be very rare, very, very. I mean, it's very rare to get a mega fight in boxing nowadays. I think it'd be great.
Hold on here. Let me look up a schedule. So it hasn't been confirmed by anybody that is legit.
What, Canelo Bud?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but it's.
Well, we can dream.
Yeah,
we can dream.
Don Quixote over there?
You should put it on the board, Matt, and then you can own that when it happens. You'll be like, "Who called it? I did."
Are you
me?
Are you familiar with Don Quixote?
Is that
Don King?
the guy with the big gray hair, and he used to wave the flag, and he was a really big promoter for boxing?
That would be Don King.
Okay. Who's Don? Is this a bad moment?
It was his assistant.
Jimmy, not today.
I thought we're on boxing.
Windmills. If this fight would take place, it would be ideally September 27th. That is a bye weekend for Nebraska
there
football.
You go.
Can you imagine? Like if they said, September 20th looks like a good date. September 20th is going to be a banger in Lincoln. That's Nebraska, Michigan. So I would love for this to happen. I keep hearing about it. Both sides keep talking about it. I love Bud keeps tweeting about it. I'm going to Epley. I'm going to see Bomac. I'm on a run of going to Epley, and I see Bomac going somewhere. He's taking Steven Nelson last time. I hope this happens. But I also think that the end will be Memorial Stadium, tomato can, Bud fights, last time, say goodbye, huge monster crowd. It'll look great. But back to why is Coldplay at Camp Randall, and we got nothing in Lincoln.
Which was the main takeaway.
The last time, we got to get something before they put grass down. Okay? We got to get a concert in there. I'm sure there's a country artist that is touring.
Mm-hmm. Get a local band.
Mm-hmm. Did you look up Don Quixote?
I'm trying to. How do you spell?
Sound it out.
Quixote.
Not peyote. Are you familiar with peyote?
No.
You should.
Keoiti?
Sure.
Did you mean?
Just Don and windmills. God, what did kids do before Google?
Okay. They used to sell these encyclopedias door to door.
But as you will see, Don Quixote and Don King, not related.
No, I thought we were still on boxing. I thought you were talking about Don King, because I know who Don King is.
Yeah, he's the guy you said with the hair that waves the flag.
Yes. I think.
No, he has the hair.
Yeah. Why is this such a big deal? Are you guys? Sorry, I'm
listening.
Don Quixote.
I didn't know if they taught you that in school.
But why did you say that?
Because we were talking about Dons, weren't we?
Yeah, Don Knotts.
All right. Thank you for playing. But
Don James?
Coldplay being at Camp Randall has thrown the entire show off. What the hell is Nebraska doing? How could they get beat by Wisconsin in this? How come Coldplay's not playing in Lincoln? Coldplay'd sell out Memorial Stadium.
Kids like Coldplay.
And then they've got, on my TikTok, because they are, as you said, they're on they're on Australia right now, right?
Yeah.
Because it's summertime down there?
No, I thought they were in Japan.
Okay, wherever they are. I saw
they're
was
in India. They're in India.
No, my next guess.
Yeah, they're in right now they're in Abu Dhabi.
It's like India
January
or Wichita.
14th, and then they go to India. I almost said Indiana. They go to India January 18th.
Terre Haute.
The one TikTok I saw was they were in Australia. And like the setup is awesome. Why can't they get Wisconsin beat Nebraska for Coldplay? That's cool. Do you think there's somebody in Coldplay that went to UW? Because that's just random.
Really?
Random that they would just because are they in Chicago?
Mhm.
They're not
Who?
Soldier Field or anything, are they?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, so they bonded over like
I've
the
seen the
93
videos.
Badgers.
I've seen the videos of like the Coldplay concert, and like they have like these big fireworks and lights and
Yeah.
everything like that when they play one of those songs, and it's just I don't think Soldier Field could
Oh,
house that infrastructure for how big their stage is and everything like that without
Damn.
absolutely tearing up that field. Now the field is better
yeah.
than what it used to be.
Yeah.
That's the one thing Matt Eberflus did right. They changed the grass. Like they had different grass. Like when Eberflus came in, he's like, "We got to change this grass," and it's been a lot better. But still, they're still freaked out about tearing up that Soldier Field.
Never field turf there?
No,
You
it
don't
was
think it'll
always
ever happen?
grass. There, probably not. I think it's one of those things where it's like less and less people want to go to turf because of the injury
Yeah.
studies, and it's like at this point you're way more better going off from turf to grass than grass to turf.
Yeah.
But for years it was a really bad situation with that grass, but they've changed. But Coldplay and Cam Randall is something. Coldplay and Lincoln would be cool. Would they sell out Memorial Stadium? I don't know. I don't have a read on
If
if
Rule tells you
Nebraska
to go.
would be a Coldplay.
Are they? So it would depend. Are they? I'm not. I don't know if they're a concert in the round. Like Garth played in the middle, so you
Yeah.
could sell a lot more seats.
Yeah.
I don't know if Coldplay sets up where like the North or South Stadium would not be available.
There, get George Strait at Memorial Stadium. That'll get the everyone.
No, we can't do that because Texas A&M had him and they set like a world record.
Yeah,
We're not into that
yeah,
business.
We're done with Trev.
George was at PBA though. That was awesome.
George is a legend.
That was a great concert.
You went to see George Strait?
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah,
I like
right.
country. Dude, I got set up, man. I saw Blake Sheldon, George Strait, Alan Jackson, Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen.
You are in the perfect town. We love
I
ourselves some
loved
country
it.
music here.
I loved that. I saw Combs here in CHI. It was awesome. But no,
And-
that's interesting. Coldplay at Camp Randall.
Of course.
Probably the best performance Camp Randall will see all year.
Bam! It's Gary and Matt.
It's too easy.
16-20 the zone. All right, Brian Christopherson coming up in about 40 minutes. And then Dan Jackson, the new head football coach at South Dakota State. Kobe Brett's just committed to play at South Dakota State. So D-Jack will join us coming up at 9:30. Patrick Mahomes got having another kid out of the way before the playoffs start.
Congratulations. I saw that. Oof.
Congratulations on the sex.
Yeah.
What happened
Weird
over there?
names, too. They're
Sorry.
Hey, that's what most people do when they're going against Patrick Mahomes. I get it.
I have asthma.
You have what? You have asthma?
I have acid reflux.
Oh.
Just kind of.
Okay.
gets worse as
I
you get
just
older.
I kind of get attacks.
You want me over there and give you the Heimlich?
No, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm
He
good.
does. He
I'm
did
good.
sound like
Got a little
15 years older
Got a
all of
little
a sudden.
scared there for a minute.
I get bad like.
Oh, I didn't know if you were like doing from Wolf of Wall Street. Matthew McConaughey.
No, I get my stomach. I get a real upset stomach sometimes. I forgot to take my medicine today before I left the
Okay.
house, so that'll happen.
You be okay?
No, I'm fine. I
You be fine?
apologize. That it just kind of happens.
I forgot to check my blood pressure.
My
What
apologies.
is that?
I'm an old man. I got an old soul. I'm
When you go on the
22.
floor, people are going to walk in here and go, "Man, what did Gary pull a Bud
No,
Crawford?"
Worse comes worse. I'll just throw up in the trash can over there. We can
That's
get
been
the
done in
audio.
this studio.
We can get the audio on it. Be good radio.
No, it'd be good video. It went viral.
I'm going to be the minority here because I usually am. I don't think that would be good radio because people have the.
No, the bad gag reflex. So I
Yes.
used to have that. I've worked through that as a human. I used to not. If you were about to throw up, I had to remove myself.
Okay, I
from
don't like
the
this
room.
discussion, but
Now I'm past that.
Very
But I
uncomfortable.
still when I
Still
don't
wanna
when
know how
I,
Coldplay
when I don't
ended up
take
at
my
Camp
medicine in
Randall.
the morning.
a couple of emails here from stuff that we've talked about before we talk about Providence Creighton
Yep.
tonight. The line is 9.5.
Ugh.
Creighton is going to destroy Providence tonight.
Should I tell you?
Should
Should I tell you?
you can do what you want. I don't want to mess with your money. I never touch another man's
I'm on a
money.
mojo right now.
Matt's
Got
going to be
Rams-
at the game tonight.
I
You
got
are on a roll.
I had Rams money line last night.
I think Creighton hammers Providence tonight.
Okay.
That's my pick. You can do what you want with it. Please choose wisely and be responsible. But you
Yes.
must be over 19. Joey says, yo, a Monty K reference. He was my 8th grade English teacher at Mission Middle School. Great guy. Saw him at Westside game this past season. Surprisingly, he remembered me. Monty is a wonderful individual. Great family. He is doing a little bit of high school basketball officiating.
Yeah.
Tight end late 80s, lives here and
Okay.
moved the family from Gothenburg to Omaha. So gotten to know Monty a lot. So
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
we're talking tight ends. I'm going to drop you some William
Talk-
Washington,
talk.
some Mark Gilman, some Matt Shaw.
Talk tight end to me. Talk tight end to me.
Also here in the Equitable Bank inbox, this is from TC. Good to hear from TC. We
What
haven't
up,
heard from
TC?
TC in a while. This is about Bill Belichick. He goes, some people are very concerned about Coach B being all in at North Carolina. Coach Belichick has yet to hire many staff members in North Carolina.
Yeah, that is
This
true.
has UNC bracing for the possibility that Belichick will be gone sooner than later. Allegedly, the UNC athletic director and the ACC commissioner are among the individuals who are nervous about Belichick's true intentions. So I saw him on McAfee yesterday. It wasn't the last one. But last night on the Manning cast, they said goodbye and thank you and all of that kind of stuff. The hiring is true because McAfee asked him about it, and Belichick said, well, we got our eyes on some NFL guys, and their season is still going on.
Spags
Could
to
that-
North Carolina.
So I got a question for you. Do you think so? Right now we're sitting. It was what, a week ago? Ed Foley officially
Mhm.
got dismissed from being the special teams coordinator. The Addison Williams hire was, I mean, we kind of heard rumblings about it for a
Mhm.
couple of days before it happened, but it did happen kind of around this timeline, about a week to 10 days. We have, at least what I've seen on Twitter and just what I've personally heard, there hasn't been, I haven't heard anything in terms of potential candidates or whatever, who they're looking for. You think Nebraska special teams coordinator could potentially be looking for their season to end, maybe? Maybe it's an assistant. Maybe it's a special teams assistant. Maybe it's a straight up coordinator.
Maybe it's McVay.
That could be a possibility.
Maybe it's someone they're currently
So-
negotiating with in the NFL.
So they have
That could be an option.
They have a little a little dead period here. They got the convention going on.
Yeah.
You got Mike Eckler, who Mike and his family are pretty happy in Knoxville.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you be? Knoxville's a great place.
Mhm.
Good weather.
I guess Tennessee, with their assistant coaches and recruiting, they have easier access to private planes than Nebraska does.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just
That's
means
interesting.
more.
Yeah. Mike Eckler, by the way, doesn't need the money. Does not need the money.
It's making
So
good money at
him and the fam are pretty happy in Knoxville.
Dude.
We'll see.
I mean, if you're happy in Tennessee, then just stay in Tennessee. I mean, like, no one's going to blame you for being happy in a place like that, in a program like that, with the tradition that it has, with the fan base that it possesses, and the conference that it's in. If you're happy, you're happy. No one can blame you. John writes into the Equitable Bank inbox line, when you are around Gary, please refer to your stomach as your tummy.
Oh.
No.
Is that an inside joke that I didn't
Yes.
that I haven't been
Yeah,
around for?
We will
Cool.
let that one go.
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thinking about it, aren't you?
So the Chi tonight, 9.5-point favorite is Creighton. Creighton is on the bubble. This is one of those games that you must win.
Yes.
So that you don't get dinged.
Ding. Doing.
Providence had lost 8 of the last 10, but they won 2 in a row. They beat Seton Hall. Creighton has UConn on the weekend.
Yes.
Another 11 a.m. game. What?
I hate it.
We need to get done. We need to stop having noon games on the East Coast.
I hate it.
You know what?
Bishop likes it.
Hey, nooners on the East Coast, not for me.
As someone who
Let's play at a normal time.
As someone who wasn't, no, I was never a high-level athlete, but as someone who wasn't an athlete or who was an athlete not too long ago, those 11 a.m. games were just like puck drop 9 a.m., puck drop 8:30, puck drop 11. You're just, your body's not there. You're not. Your legs are heavy. You're still groggy from sleeping.
Wait till you get used to the schedule.
Right? Like no coffee or
Hey.
energy drink is going to get you giddy enough to play, man.
I got to get a grandpa nap tomorrow. Omaha plays at 8 o'clock tomorrow night at Denver.
That's true.
Grandpa nap. I take grandpa nap every day.
You're learning.
I know. 2 hours, baby.
Whoa.
I'm going to be real.
2 hours.
I'm going to be real with you. I've taken a 5-hour nap after getting home from work before. Completely screwed up my sleep schedule. It was the worst thing that ever happened.
My sleep schedule is around my sports.
Yeah. Me too.
But I've learned, I've done this shift long enough that I go back. 45 minutes can do pretty well for me. Now, I might stretch it to an hour. But I've screwed with my
30-minute
my whole
nap.
sleep cycle. Like, I'm going to die early. I know I will because of this shift. Like, I don't know how people do it. Like, I always tell this, I know he's a competitor. Gary Saddlemeyer's been doing this shift forever. And every time I see Sadler out, I'm like, when are you going to, first of all, when are you going to retire?
Yeah.
And then how do you ever do this shift? So you'll get used to it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but you got to sneak in the grandpa nap. I don't care
Absolutely.
if you work at night or in the day. I think everybody should have a nap.
I agree.
I think
Couldn't
in
agree
school,
more.
I think in school, it doesn't matter what age you are. You know what? You don't have to be in kindergarten. Let's
That's
have a
what
nap.
I said.
I think it worked. I think we should have cots set up here where people, if they wanted to nap, could nap at NRG.
Cots and
I think
litter
that would
boxes.
help us in our rankings of best places to work in Omaha if
Couldn't-
we allowed our
Oh.
employees to sleep. Like, what if Cynthia said, I'm going to knock it off for 30 minutes. I'm going to go over here in the corner and take a little nap.
The nap.
You know what?
pod.
She would wake up. She'd be more refreshed. She'd be hammering the people that try and sneak into the building.
This would already put this place. I mean, this place is
Pepper
already
and Josh
Cynthia,
already sleeping
Cynthia
out
making
there.
the popcorn. Chris is having the dogs running around the office. I mean, this place is already
Stop giving out our secrets.
This place is already
Homeless people walking in and hanging out in our commissary.
naked.
They haven't.
It already is a great place.
We're on a run where the people that come into the building that are homeless don't immediately strip down, Jimmy. That just happened one time.
Are we 300 days from that last incident?
No,
27.
we had to reset the clock.
Dang it!
We had a guy that was like, "Hey, that side door doesn't close completely." All right, some props in tonight's Creighton game.
Okay, give them to me, and I'll tell you.
Well, let me ask this question first.
Sure.
So,
By the way, I don't like -9.5 for Creighton tonight.
you like Creighton straight up?
Obviously I like Creighton straight
Okay.
up. I just think the problem with this team is that they need too many things to go right in order to just win, let alone blow a team out.
Okay.
Like you need to have 3 really good performances from Kalkbrenner, Ashworth, and Neal. And that's not to say that that's impossible. I mean, it's happened. Dang, it happened against Butler over the weekend. Like all 3 of them played well.
The Bulldogs.
But like, in order for them to blow it out, you need 3 guys who really, really play well. And then you need good bench play from Trout and Miller and McAndrew on top of that.
So, they're playing at home, and I'm not a big believer in this Providence team.
Sure.
They've gone, trying to figure out if Bryce Hopkins is going to play or not has been kind of a storyline all season long. So they're at home. I think the students are back. Only at Nebraska.
Oh, they are.
Nebraska is still on break.
A six-week break.
Like I said to Chuck the other day, I said, when are you going back to Lincoln? Sunday. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
It
Which
got
Sunday?
to the
Now,
point.
he's taking a class during was it J term? Is that what they call it?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a 3-week term or whatever. I
I've
think.
been out of school for like 6 weeks.
No, I didn't like it. I always came back early. My parents weren't a big fan of it, but there was always games to announce, and that was my excuse.
It was fun to have. Your
But
friends.
but Creighton, the students are back, so Creighton's got the
today's
students
first day
back.
of class.
I think they roll tonight.
Okay.
But the question, before I give you some props for the Kalkbrenners and the Ashworths and the Neils of the world, Creighton will probably win a lot of games like they did on Saturday. Maybe a little bit different at home because they can get on a roll. They hit some shots, 3 start falling. They blow the lower end of the Big East out. But they're going to play these tight games. I think even against UConn, they'll play like a little tension convention for a while.
Sure.
Have they reached their ceiling? With this current roster without Pop Isaacs, trying to figure out Fedor, who I think the game right now is going too fast for him, have they reached their ceiling? And they just have to find a way not to have Ryan Kalkbrenner's career end in the NIT.
So I think that more than likely, this is a team that is going to probably lose a game that they're more likely to lose a game they shouldn't than they are to win a game they should not. Now, they probably should have beaten Marquette. Like that Marquette game, like if Kalkbrenner makes some of those baskets at the end of the game, and if Ashworth doesn't have as poor of a shooting performance as he did, they probably win that game. Okay, and the fact that they were even in that game with Ashworth shooting the way that he was pretty impressive. But I think just like I said, this team, in order to beat good teams in general, has to have their best from 3 guys every single night. And it's basketball. You just don't know what way the ball is going to bounce in a certain night. So I think this team, more than likely, will lose to the teams that they should lose to, and will lose 1 or 2 games against teams they shouldn't lose to, which would find them in the NIT. At the same time,
I just can't see.
After the Marquette game, it had me
the
believing.
second best player in the history of the program finished his career in the NIT.
At the Marquette game, though, had me believing that they can beat a UConn, that they can beat a Marquette, that they can beat top teams in this league. Okay? I mean, with the performance, I think they can do it. But more than likely, they will lose those games and probably lose 1 or 2 games that they should.
Nebraska for Creighton, Nebraska for UCLA. Get your crap together, UCLA.
Yes.
By the way, it'll be a sickos game Friday against Iowa. Okay, some props for tonight.
Can't believe UCLA broken, losing at Rutgers yesterday. What are you doing?
At one point, they were 11-2, and they'd beaten Gonzaga.
Doing?
Now they're 11-6.
It's embarrassing.
Well, it happens.
Baldwin and Bailey and Harper at 38 of their 75 yesterday.
People are saying that Rutgers is back. That game Thursday night in Lincoln between Nebraska and Rutgers is kind of interesting. They saved their season yesterday. All right, Kalkbrenner, I'm looking at FanDuel.
Yeah.
17.5 is his total for points tonight. Ashworth is 19.5. Neil is 13.5.
So I will say this about Providence. I was looking at their statistics last night. Not good on offense. Pretty bad offense, but they are a pretty
Beasley
decent.
Joseph can shoot it a little bit.
They're a pretty decent defense. Like defensively, they're not that bad. Like they're in the top 50, top 100 in a lot of these national statistics.
Because you know what? I think when you're at Providence, you have to be. You're in a town that has a major mafia. There, you been there? I actually like Providence. I think it's kind of I like the Capitol. Looks pretty cool.
I've never
shout
been
out
to Rhode
Providence
Island.
Mafia.
It's closer to Foxborough than Boston is.
Oh, that's interesting. Didn't know that. I'm not really familiar with like East Coast geography, and I've never really.
Now, the one thing about Providence that this game could be like a clunker, not aesthetically pleasing, is you wonder, you ask the question, how tough is this Creighton team? You're gonna find out tonight because Providence, they do miss a lot of shots.
They do,
but they also have one of the higher offensive rebound rates in the country. And so this will be a physical game. I mean, this will be how will it be called? Creighton doesn't get called for a lot of fouls. They don't have guys that foul out.
What's the total?
The total in the game is 143.5.
It's a good line. It's a good
Creighton
line.
will hammer Providence tonight.
You think so?
Yes, they will. And people might like the Billy Blue Jay pinata, Mason Miller. Maybe some people will go, oh, okay, I like him today. He is becoming the pinata. He is a lightning rod for the Creighton fan right now.
He is.
Kind of an odd season that he's undergoing after coming back from the leg injury, where he got a little bit of a late start. People, like, if you want to talk about Kalkbrenner and Ashworth, you sit down with Billy Blue Jay, he'll be like, let's talk about Mason Miller.
Yeah. For me, it just, with Ashworth.
Does Nebraska have a Mason Miller that's become a pinata?
No. the young guy that you expected a lot out of that has shown flashes but also underperformed a lot of the time? No, I don't think they have that. Because they don't have young guys. They don't
Fred turning well,
they don't
Mason Miller's not, I wouldn't consider him young anymore.
But he
been in the program for a bit.
No, but he came in as he was exposed as a younger guy.
I think Fred might turn Raleigh Wooster into that.
Into a pinata?
Into a pinata.
Yeah. But Gavin Griffiths is probably...
Who?
Gavin Griffiths.
Who's that?
He's the Rutgers transfer who went to Nebraska.
Does he still play at Nebraska?
He's been he was the pinata earlier in the year, and then...
Was that by his coach?
Well,
He's one of those guys that people were like, okay, when things are struggling, they want to see more of him.
I think it's one of those guys. Well, sure. Yeah. I think I was going to say that yesterday, actually, that it probably is like one of those things where it's like everything's going to crap. So we might as well give this guy another shot to see what can happen. Seriously, that might happen. He might get minutes against Rutgers this week. It very well could happen.
Revenge.
I mean, I know Miller's a junior, but he was playing a little bit when he was a freshman. I mean, people have been aware of him since he was a freshman. They've known his presence, and now, yes, he is a lightning rod that gets bounced around.
Cheddar's Cheddar. So I'm an anti-Creighton guy here. Everybody identifies themselves. More due to Jasker, but come bubble time, has Creighton earned a little cred with the committee?
Why?
I think he's going off of past history.
No, doesn't work that way. Unless you're Duke or Kentucky. Unless you're Kansas or North Carolina.
Look at Ward Manuel over here.
Or a blue blood. I don't know. Maybe if they're tied with St. Louis, if they have the same record or same resume as St. Louis or Drake or St. Joe's or St. John or one of those. Not John's, but St. Joe's or Drake or Loyola Chicago. Yeah, they probably have the edge over them because of their name. But if they were going up against a North Carolina or Kentucky. Kentucky, North Carolina probably gets over them. But they have to get to the point where the resume is good enough to compete with those teams to get in there. They're not even at the point where it's does Creighton get the edge over this smaller team into the 11th seed? They have to get to that point first. They have to win tonight. I just think that what scares me about this Creighton team is they're one Stephen Ashworth bad performance away from losing games they shouldn't, because he plays 40 minutes a game. I get exhausted watching him on the court. It's almost as if, semi-pro, where Jackie Moon is throwing the ball back and forth in the post. It's like that's what their offense is. They throw to a guy in the corner. Okay, Isaac can't. Trout's in the corner. Oh, not a good shot. Back to you, Steven. And Steven runs around. Okay, here you go, Ryan. Ryan doesn't have a good shot. Back to Steven. Steven runs around. Okay, here you go, Jemiah. Jemiah doesn't have it. Back to Steven. That's how it is. That's their offense.
And then out of the locker room comes Baylor and Trey, and they're back.
Was that your John Bishop impression?
No, it's a couple
I don't even attempt a John Bishop impression.
I will never.
So, speaking of, I just dropped Ward Manuel's name, who's Michigan AD.
Yes.
You want a stat of the day?
I love your stats of the day are niche and funny and sometimes are not congruent with one another.
Do you know?
Monday through Friday, 6 to 10.
So he's the Michigan athletic director.
Yes.
Because this is going to lead me into the next segment. Do you know who his goddaughter is?
His goddaughter.
If you get this, I love you long time.
Probably the dude who gave $8 million to Bryce Underwood.
That wouldn't be that's a pretty good guess.
Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's
his goddaughter?
Warren Buffett's daughter. If Warren Buffett has a daughter. I don't know.
The guy with the big hair and waves the flag. Don
Quixote.
Or Jimmy's older, more successful brother.
Harper Murray.
Really? Oh, that makes sense.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
When we come back, there is some drama with Harper Murray.
Okay.
Major drama. Now, I'm being a little sarcastic, but
okay.
There are 3 things that are on my list of maybe we need to step back and not overreact so quickly. Harper Murray to Michigan. Levante David doesn't mention Nebraska. And ladies' night at PBA. We'll do that when we come back. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, so we are getting close to the final days of TikTok, but President Trump's going to come in and he will save TikTok. That is my prediction. I can't get a line on FanDuel, but if I could, that's what I would do. So one thing about TikTok, about social media and the young athletes that go to school, especially at Nebraska, the Nebraska volleyball team, since TikTok has been around, they are very, very active on TikTok.
Yes.
They do a lot of TikToks, like Coach Cook, when he lets them do their TikToks and then shuts it off 90 minutes before first serve, and they get down to business. And he lets them have a life on social media. And I will say this because I don't follow any of the volleyball players, but because the algorithm there, I click on a lot of Nebraska stuff. Yeah. The algorithm gives me a lot of Nebraska volleyball content. So I feel like I know Maisie better than anybody else, except for her boyfriend, who loves flowers. She's got a really nice boyfriend. He delivers flowers when she gets home from practice. I know Allie. Okay. That's where I first discovered that Allie and Baylor Shireman back then were dating. I'm like, whoa. That's Baylor Shireman in her TikTok. And then you see her at a game, and I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, she's at the Creighton
power couple.
She's at the Creighton Nebraska game wearing black. You know,
I was the first to report that Heinrich Harburg and Harper Murray were dating. You know why? TikTok. I'm like, that's Heinrich Harburg. That's the quarterback. That's the star volleyball player. They're dating. Okay, so I get a lot of stuff from TikTok. TikTok
straight out of Blue Mountain State.
But for Nebraska volleyball players, you feel like you've gotten to know them a lot better because they're on TikTok and they give you some background.
And it's great.
Now, there's the other part. There has been the good and the bad because, people are on TikTok and the comments are open and people respond. So Harper Murray is very active on TikTok and she's creative. And we got to see her journey this past year and how she became really, really tight with John Cook. Yes. And she got John Cook into TikToks.
Yes.
Okay. So we're getting towards the end of TikTok. I'm on TikTok yesterday. I'm going to be very sad. Sean said earlier that one of the reasons that he got Paramount Plus is because Tulsa King and Landman have a lot of clips on TikTok. And so you watch the clip and then you go, man, what am I missing?
Sure.
So Harper Murray is home on break. She went to the Pinstripe Bowl. I got to see a lot of background on the Pinstripe Bowl.
Oh, that's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then her and Heinrich went to Florida and they got in the ocean.
Oh.
So she is back home. You know where she is from, correct?
She's from Ann Arbor.
She is from Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's the home of Michigan. So yesterday on TikTok, she did a TikTok. And you know what she was wearing?
A Harbaugh jersey.
She was wearing maize and blue.
She was wearing Michigan gear and people freaked out. They're like, oh my God, she's transferring. So she had to explain the background of her connection to Michigan. Because people are like, oh, Cook, what did you do? So she said, for people that don't know, in a very kind way, and it's wild that she has to explain it, but this is where we're at. She said, well, my dad played football at Michigan.
I was about to say.
My sister played volleyball at Michigan. My family lives in Ann Arbor. She had a Michigan shirt on, and people were losing their mind.
It was probably laundry day. I mean, I'm just saying, it was probably
okay.
I didn't see the TikTok, but it was probably an older Michigan shirt. Did it look wrinkly?
I got the TikTok. I couldn't really tell from the angle.
Yeah,
and I didn't get in the comments and go, "Hey, can you?" But she had to do that on TikTok.
It's kind of a
so
shame.
I'm doing this
I'm on
three overreactions here. So Harper Murray ain't going anywhere.
No,
but she had to explain it on TikTok, and she's very sad because TikTok's going to go away. And she's like, what am I going to do?
It's an avenue for her. It's a way to be creative.
They might shut down Nebraska volleyball if TikTok goes away.
And that's what I take from
this. It's a little bit of a hobby for her.
You think the attorney general here in Nebraska knows that if TikTok goes away, Nebraska volleyball does?
Only Trump can save Nebraska volleyball. That's where we're at.
Is that where we're propaganding right now?
I don't know that I would buy into that because I'm not going to go down that path. Sure. I just got to be careful. But he did say Big Ten football.
She could do. By the way, Nebraska volleyball very well could just switch to Instagram Reels, and just start doing that.
I like Reels. I'm with
Like
Matt
Reels
here.
are fun. Like there is a
Well,
way
cute
to.
puppy
I'm not
videos
saying
and-
YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is a whole other ballgame. You need a little bit higher production value, I think, with YouTube Shorts. But with Instagram Reels, like it's a good area to be in.
Not the same as TikTok.
I agree, but it's a good area to be in.
Not the same as TikTok.
I agree. I'm agreeing.
So Harper Murray had to debunk that yesterday. So that's one overreaction.
Okay.
The other overreaction is people think that Levante David hates Nebraska.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because on Sunday Night Football,
He
when
said
they
Fort
announced,
Scott.
so he has done this. So he has said Nebraska in the past.
Mhm.
He has said Fort Scott. He has said I'm the father to my two kids. But
to know.
typical overreaction. We're a little sensitive around here. Oh my God, what is the beef between Nebraska and Levante David?
There's no
Well, I'm going to
beef.
tell you what the beef is. There ain't no friggin' beef.
I was about to say.
He just recently got, what did he graduate, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And he was back. Now, he doesn't come back here in the offseason like he did early in his Buccaneer career because he was doing some stuff with Big Brothers, Big Sisters,
Yeah.
and he would come into Lincoln a little bit more.
He's sad because
When
Fort
you
Scott
make
got
all,
rid
when
of
you make
football.
all that money and you've been in the NFL for a long time, he's probably got his own home gym that he works out at in Tampa. Or he goes to the Tampa facility, or he's there. I mean, he's been there for a decade now. He doesn't need to come back.
So I'm here
anymore.
to debunk that there's a rift between Nebraska and Levante David. He came back, I think it was 21 that he got his degree. Yeah. But I think all fan bases that are sensitive do that when one of their star players like mentions I'm from Hoboken High School, and they're like, why does he hate Rutgers? So that happened the other night, and got a couple of emails on that.
I figured.
The other one is, I'm not here to debunk it, but I'm saying we just need to kind of take the promotion that was announced for Thursday night's Nebraska-Rutgers game.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit of an overreaction. It seemed to be very unpopular. I think it doesn't make sense, but here's what.
You're just waiting. You're just memeing yourself.
Well,
you're just setting yourself up for failure.
So whoever came up with this idea, they did the Office theme for the UCLA game. The students aren't there, so they think they have to do something to bring people in. I'm in this world, and I worked for the best promoter in the history of minor league baseball in Mike Veck, along with Bill Murray.
Oh, wow.
Is this promotion on Thursday night PBA going to get you to go to the game? Are you simply going to go to the game because of the promotion?
I think I'm the wrong person to ask.
It's ladies' night. You're like, this is like, man, where do I grab my rod and reel?
I'm just saying. That's a good one. I didn't get that right away. I'm just gonna. I go to Nebraska games no matter what. I don't know. How would you feel? How would you feel if your wife or your girlfriend goes, honey, I have to go to the Nebraska basketball game this week so I can get a Fred Hoiberg is hot T-shirt and wear it around the house? How would you feel?
We'd all wear them here at the Zone.
Yeah, I would wear them. I think it'd be funny.
Wear one tomorrow.
I think it's funny.
Ladies,
but people like this was a hot button issue yesterday.
It's weird.
Here's what they need to do at Nebraska. Okay, and I'm going to give a little advice here.
They need to hire Gary Sharp to do
Dead or Canadian Lincoln, sign me up.
I think it'd be a good idea, actually.
They would Google some of our promotions and might be offended.
What do they need to do? Give them your.
By the way,
your pro bono marketing.
I'm going to come full here. Maybe having a live circumcision in Fort Myers on what would Tim Tebow do night maybe was the wrong play. But
Did
all
y'all
the other
win
stuff,
at least?
all the other stuff about my intern walking across water on the dugout was fantastic.
These could be good Zone ideas.
Should have a Edge and lead a live sex celebration.
I do admit, years after, should not have done the live circumcision. But Tim had just gotten back from Africa where he did one, and I thought it would be appropriate.
Sure, honor our heroes.
I don't know how sanitized it was, but you know what? I wasn't the one that was getting circumcised. I got that.
gold.
Hey, I got that.
Can you imagine? Wait. Hey. So, everybody, we're gonna pick out who gets the live circumcision from Tim Tebow.
I'm surprised Marty hasn't done that yet.
518.
Hey.
Row 4, seat 3. Camera pans on the dude.
Hey.
Already circumcised.
Homeboy
Next.
Homeboy didn't need that, man. When I came out of Barb, they did that right away. They were like, let's get it all taken care of at one shop. But here's what they didn't do at Nebraska basketball. And this is a problem, and I'm not joking here.
Okay. Give it.
You guys don't know how that works? You come out.
What?
Well, you guys laughed. I said I came out of Barb, and you guys laughed. I didn't know if you knew. You want me to draw you a picture?
No.
Okay.
You're getting serious.
Yes.
Getting serious.
I'm getting serious here. They need to improve the in-game experience at Pinnacle Bank
I believe
Arena.
that.
So the in-game experience is not very good. They try way too hard. It's very natural, okay? What is a big part of basketball and an in-game experience?
Music.
Music and quickness. You can't have lag time. Let's say you get on a run, you're on an 8-0 run Thursday night against Rutgers, and like the guy in section, is it 216?
The guy waves the...
Yeah, and I'm right there with him, and I take off my shirt, and people are like, oh! And I start waving it around. Okay, so it's an 8-0 run. Peichel takes a timeout. The music's got to start right away. The cheerleaders got to be on the floor. The place got to be going nuts. If you have the T-shirt cannon or the hot dog gun, that's got to be out there, and it's just got to be chaos. It's got to be boom, 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 boom. And people are into it. There's too much lag time, and it's slow to develop. And so there's some downtime. It has to be boom, 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 boom. But they need to work on the music timing up with the feel of the building. Like this is the appropriate time to go with that.
Yes.
They do really well with some of the video stuff, but you have to read the room when you're doing in-game stuff. And you know what? Even though you have things planned out, because you got to let everybody know what you're on the same page, you have to be able to adjust on the fly depending on the feel of the game. And I think right now at Nebraska, they could do a better job of that in-game at men's games. Because the experience is great. You don't need to change the experience. You just need to enhance it.
I agree with that. Another thing, too, I just feel like every time out, they feel like they need to do something. They feel like they need to.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with just playing some music and then have the music go, have the cheerleaders out there, and then right out of the timeout, you play a different song that gets the crowd hyping into it again. There's nothing wrong with doing that. They don't do that enough.
And then for halftime shows, anytime there's an element that something might die, is the best.
Absolutely.
Like if somebody is
baby racist.
Did you say racist or racism?
Baby racist.
Oh,
races.
I mean, I know it's a conservative state, but man.
Ryan Christopherson. I got nothing. I got nothing. But just,
make it better.
The promotion is you get to see Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey play against Bryce Williams. We'll see you at 8 on Thursday. We'll see you next on 1620 The Zone. Nope. All right, let's welcome in from Husker 24/7, Brian Christopherson. How are we doing this morning?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I get it. Say it ain't so. I get it.
Okay.
That is the worst. I'm sorry. That was the most negative and sad "I'm fine" I've ever heard in my entire life. You could not. There's no way you're gonna cover this up. You are sad. Just say you're sad. It's not your fault, Brian. Just say you're sad.
I'm a little down. Yeah, I'm a little down.
It's
but,
okay.
You know what?
It's not your fault.
It's a new day.
It's not your fault.
I think is the line at the end of Gone with the Wind or whatever. But Sam Darnold just lost a lot of money the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was a rough go. I mean, holding the ball a little too long there, buddy.
Yeah. You can say that again.
It was
You want him back?
You know what? A few weeks ago, I was like, yeah, they should run it back. And I hate to be that guy who just pivoted and like ran the other direction really fast, but that's how I felt because you sort of are judged by, how you play in those type of moments.
Yeah.
And the Vikings have always been an organization, they get dirt kicked on them a lot, but they win a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't win a lot in situations like last night. And so you've got to find whatever you think can get you over that mountaintop. And I'm not sure it's Sammy. I don't want to just pile on him because he had a nice rejuvenation of his career for a lot. But the unfortunate thing for him is the ending is what people are going to remember. But we'll see. I kind of think the Vikes will push forward with something else, but they've done it their own way before. And I do still trust Kevin O'Connell. I don't know. I just think he's eventually going to get us there. But I've said that before about other guys. So yeah, I am kind of sad. Can you tell?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So
Brian.
I don't mean to hammer this, but I have a question from your standpoint. Like 5 seconds into the Green Bay Philadelphia game, the fumble on the kickoff, it's not just one play, it's a series of plays, but it seemed like it impacted the Packers. Do you think that after they made the ruling, which I didn't agree on the Stafford pass, that the Cashman touchdown was not allowed, that kind of changed the Vikings the rest of the night?
A little bit. I mean, there's like 2 or 3 plays. We could make this a general discussion about football because I've always made the argument that, and people sometimes scoff at this, that you'll see the score of a game sometimes and it'll end up like 42-17. And there are not all 42-17s are created equally.
Sure.
There'll be these games where there's like that one play, and it's such a momentum game in football where you didn't make it. That could have been 7 for your side. They made it, and it was 7 for their side. And it turns what would have been a 60-minute game into what we saw last night. That was that kind of deal. And if you wanted, my coworker Schaefer, I think, pointed it out on X. The missed block punt, honestly, was like the most Vikings thing ever, where you actually do something really well until the very end of it. I mean, that should have been going the other way for a touchdown. So it's like things like that are so fascinating to me when you watch these games where you thought you had a fumble return for a touchdown. Nope. It's just a incomplete pass. It didn't really get you anything. They get that play because your QB's hanging on to it too long. Probably shouldn't have even snapped the ball. Should have called a timeout. They're disorganized. But, yeah, I mean, 14 points each way there. And there you go. It turns into what it was. So, yeah, that could have been a much closer game. But the bottom line is so could have Detroit. And if for 2 weeks in a row you don't do the little stuff right and it gets out of control. And we've seen that with some Husker teams in the past. It's that deal where you've got to you have to have the finer points right in these type of settings. Otherwise, you lose your grip on things pretty fast.
Brian, so you talked about the big play, right? And football at the end of the day comes down to 3 or 4 big ones. And, whether or not you're the team that makes it determines whether you win the game. Nebraska football has been through a lot of turmoil in this transfer portal cycle. They're getting close to 20 transfers coming in. They're losing a lot of guys because of the 105 roster limit. But with all these dudes that they're bringing in and the positive strides that they've made to make this team better in a lot of different spots, Do any of these additions give you more hope or trust that they are going to be able to win those one score, those close games? Or does it really just come down to Rule and his staff and the culture?
No, some of the additions could do that.
Okay.
Now, I've promised to myself, so I got to start off right this year. I don't want to make it the off season of where people feel like I think it happens naturally because you tend to write more positive stuff in the off season because you're obviously not going to dog on people like in January or during spring ball. But there is this thought that guys really get built up into something they're not. So with everything that gets said, I want to be careful, but I do think it matters, like with what they've been doing at wide receiver, and that. Let's just go to first off, Dana Holgerson handpicking Da'Keil Shorts is like, we got to bring this guy in. I believe in him. I saw him flip the room in Houston. I know he can do it here. I just have total confidence in him, and he's been around me for a decade. And so even before Nebraska landed Dane Key, Isaiah Hunter, Hardly Gilmore, Holgerson was quoted as saying, I think we're going to have some guys. He's going to do it. And so there was just a confidence. And obviously he had the connection to a couple of the Kentucky wide receivers. I understand that. But that doesn't – you still have to be like a good coach and have those relationships to make those guys want to come to where you are. And so I think that says a lot that a veteran wanted to do that in Key. And then I wrote about Gilmore a couple of days ago, just tracking back through his recruitment. And he's just – I'm really excited about him and his possibilities. And again, I don't want to overdo it, but I do think they've done a good job to the question you're asking. There are a few of those playmakers where if you look at what was a weakness in Nebraska's offense, they really struggled with the long ball and finding those home run hitters. And I do think what can get you over the top in you say 3-4 plays in a game, you're absolutely right. It's having a guy like that. It's having Trey Palmer. It's having Samori Toure, who, was a very good big play receiver for Nebraska. You've got to find a guy or two like that to go with the nice complementary parts you think you have that sometimes is the difference between losing 23-20 and that score being on your side.
Hey, you've been in this for a while, and as we get caught up in the portal and the end of recruiting, we talk about guys that are at the top of mind. And sometimes we forget about guys that committed early in the recruiting class or who are already on campus. And there's a lot of talk about Nebraska getting tackles. They got Pritchett. We'll wait on Pete. We don't know what's going to go on there, but Nebraska is firmly in the mix. Let's talk about a guy that's on campus. And full disclosure, I saw Gunnar Katula go against Maverick Noonan in high school. And Maverick Noonan turned Gunnar Katula into a turnstile at Seacrest Field. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be another one of those tackles that doesn't amount to much. And he's gone before you ever know it. So I'm here to say, Gunnar Katula, welcome. Okay, I was wrong, and his improvement in a couple of years is impressive, and he's still got more to go. So when I say that, where is your starting baseline for what you thought Gunnar Katula would be to where you are now? Where even though Nebraska's looking at a couple of tackles, they might have their starting left tackle for a full season after being a starter for the majority this year.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think whenever anybody's talking about the new tackles, and obviously there's excitement about Elijah Pritchett, and maybe there'll be another addition. Keep Gunnar Katula right at the top of that conversation in everything you do, because I think if you look back at younger O-linemen who have played at Nebraska, I felt like Gunnar at a very, some would argue the most difficult position, aside from maybe QB, held up as well as think about like Bryce Benhart, like early in his career, he took a lot of punishment, and just verbal assaults, I guess, for his play early in his career, and he was very inconsistent. Gunnar was much more consistent. Some guys who turned into okay O-linemen by the end of their career. So I was very impressed that we didn't basically pinpoint him as much. He wasn't a guy like we were talking about throughout the year, like, oh, Gunnar lost his guy again, this guy got loose for this many TFLs against him. It wasn't that sort of deal. So I think that's a very impressive start for a tackle who's that young when we're not talking as much about you actually, and you're not the big topic on a message board or anything like that after a game. And so, I mean, Gunner really did well to just hang in there, and that's a big compliment for a first-year guy, because we heard Rule talk about this a few weeks ago. It often takes like at least a third year for linemen, whether it's O-line or D-line, to sort of take off. And so his best football is still ahead of him. And so he's very much, I know he was a little banged up throughout last year. And so there's probably a healing process going on right now. So we'll see what that's all about, when we get into that stuff. But he's definitely in that mix for me. And I'm not just pushing him to the side, and I hope others don't either in these conversations.
So Gary and I talked about this actually a couple of weeks ago, that it seemed like when Nebraska got big prospects, it's because they had an inside track to them, whether it be through connections, family members, former coaches, and that, a lot of the times when they went up and they were trying to get prospects that they didn't really know other well, it was just pure recruiting against bigger schools that they would lose out on it. Right now, you're looking at a guy like Pete over at New Mexico State, 6'8", 320 pounds, offensive tackle. He was a 2023 all-conference guy for NMSU. It's them versus Michigan. It's Nebraska versus Michigan for Pete. What would it say about the program if they are able to beat one of the big dogs in the Big Ten for a very highly coveted offensive tackle in the transfer portal?
I think you'd have to, first off, I think it's been proven, and Rule said this in December when he was like, don't tell me hang in there like this month, like let's go, we've got the resources here with the way college football's set up. Maybe we don't all like it, maybe I don't like it, but let's go with what it is, and we can succeed with it. And I think when you look at our current situation with NIL, still a big part of it, Nebraska can go elbows out with most everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one part. And then I think the other part to your question is it would say a lot about, I think, the family, in this case, that Pete would see Nebraska having, that he'd want to join, like liking that O-line room and feeling like, that's a group where there's camaraderie.
Yeah. I
I think that's, from what I've gathered about him, kind of researching him as a person, I think that's going to be a big deal in his decision. It's just what feels like, where I'm one of the guys, these are my brothers right away in this 1 year. And that's something Nebraska's O-line, whether you say they've been good, bad, or in the middle throughout Donovan Rilo's career, that's one thing you'd highlight and say has always been a real positive, is like those guys love him in that room. And I think it comes across to recruits and stuff like that, and guys who are visiting. And so, that can matter a lot with O-linemen, because there is that, especially at that position group, there's always that feeling like I need to connect with these guys, because I got to go to war with them all fall long, and I got to believe in them and have that brotherhood. And so I think that's going to be, as big as anything, is if the guy senses that, who's a player in the trenches.
So part of what you just mentioned, it'd be a big win for Nebraska because he's a multi-year starter, over 800 snaps last year at left tackle. Mm-hmm. But wouldn't it be almost even a bigger win for 1890?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be, I think that it's been proven during this portal cycle, like I said last answer, that Nebraska can go compete with people on that end. I think we've seen it with, Williams Nwaneri is a good example of that. That's there to be offered, and it's not something that's holding the Huskers back at this point. I know, there's probably other places where maybe there's a little bit more, but 1890 I think has done a good job, and you got to give that group a lot of credit too, because it's been a good portal cycle, I think, in that way for Nebraska. You haven't felt like the Huskers can't, they can't get a certain guy because of the monetary reasons necessarily. So when you can take that out of the equation, obviously that's a big advantage.
We'll stick on 1890 here because I totally agree with you. It's been a good cycle for them. It's almost as if any player that they wanted, they competed for, and they were trying to give them the monetary value that was working for them, and maybe they just, barely got outbidded. And even the guys who entered the transfer portal from Nebraska that they wanted to come back, they were able to keep those guys as well. But, we're talking about 1890, we're talking about the offensive line. How much do you think that Walter Rouse situation changed 1890 and changed their outlook and how they were in their strategy when it comes to paying these guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things where you I'm sure with each of these cases, you take a lesson along the way. Like, okay, this is what it takes to win certain guys, and there's certain things you that organization or anybody feels like we did this well, or this is something where, okay, let's revisit this, or this is what we need. And so I think it's a great question. I think along the way with all these cases through the years, people have had to adjust with the ground moving beneath their feet. And so it's not an easy process. I've always tended to give people who are in that world the benefit of the doubt too, because I understand the moving landscape is so hard to judge. But I feel like Nebraska, if there was ever a season or two where they were a step behind, I feel like there's always been that want to like be there or ahead of people. And I think especially with Rule and this operation that exists right now, the best thing I can say just of where we are right now is I think it's a staff from Rule on down to everyone around him that they don't complain about the way it is. And maybe they don't love it. And if you were having a drink with them on a Thursday night, they'd have a few things to say about this or that and how I wish it weren't like this. But when it matters, it's just like, this is the setup as it is. How can we be the best as the parameters or lack of parameters in some cases are to succeed and put ourselves in position to get the guys that can win here. And I like that looking forward philosophy, because I do think there are some in this business elsewhere who are struggling with the way it is now. And those people, I might agree with their opinion of the way it is, but they're going to get left behind. And so I like that Nebraska's been forward looking. And I think you got to say 1890 has adjusted well to the times here and is having a really good cycle.
Let's finish on a basketball note, because last night, Thursday night's opponent with two, top 5 picks in Harper and Bailey, and Harper is now back from the flu. Bailey is kind of polarizing. He might score 39 against Indiana, and you're like, oh my God, how did he ever do this? But they're going to be 2 to watch. They changed their lineup last night. They played some tough D, and they beat UCLA. So Rutgers saved their season because they might not even make the Big Ten tournament. Now they come in here on Thursday. Nebraska's got to pull the parking brake. Anything you saw last week from Iowa to Purdue that you are wondering, is there going to be a lingering effect when they take the floor at a place that they're really good in Thursday night against Rutgers?
I just think, there's some things on the defensive end. You got to tighten up a little bit. Obviously, they've just been wounded behind the arc. I don't think they're going to see, teams that necessarily going forward are going to light them up the way like Iowa did the last 15 minutes of regulation or Purdue on Sunday. So it was kind of a bad deal where you got those 2 games back to back. But Nebraska at PBA, what they've specialized is just they bring it up like 2 notches, especially on the defensive end, it feels like. And so that has to be there before the first media timeout. Like, they need to go out there and establish this narrative hasn't changed. Nebraska still owns teams in this building, and you got to make that clear. I think from the very jump, when there's a 50-50 ball on the floor, it's got to be Nebraska's, and there has to be that the season's on the line kind of feeling, which does happen. Like, on your way to try to get to the brackets, there's like 4 or 5 instances, it feels like a year, where it's like, got to have it, and I do feel like there's a desperation when you're in your building too, like you got to hold serve. And so I hope that's there. Nebraska over the last 2 years has basically had it every time, except for, the Creighton game early last year. where they've been that team in PBA and they feed off the crowd and vice versa. But they've got to come out and play with that confidence. I think in the first 4 to 8 minutes, grab the lead, play with that emotion. Get Sam Hoiberg getting a steal early on where one of those freshmen, like, what the stink is this? I didn't know that could happen.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's good. That's got to be who they are. These guys know that, if you fall to 2-4 and you start playing too far behind 500 in the league, it's very tough for a team, especially that struggled getting wins away from home. So this game is huge, but we've already had a couple of those. I felt like Indiana at home in December was that way.
Yeah.
I felt like UCLA was that way. So it's like every time they come to PBA, it's like, okay, guys, you got to bring it again, and you can't slip up here. And that's why the Iowa loss still hurts a little last week, because you could have actually played from ahead a bit.
Yeah, I agree. BC, as always, appreciate the conversation. We'll see you later this week.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Brian Christophers from Husker 24/7. All right, Bracket Matrix this morning. What the hell? It's January 14th, and Omaha's in a lot of brackets as a 16 seed. Going to Dayton. Hey.
Omaha and Creighton and Dayton?
No.
I would go to that.
But it would. I see some that have, Omaha would, if this happened, long way to go, by the way. If it happened, they'd be a 16 seed. But playing in Dayton so they could win a tournament game?
Play Duke.
I would.
You can see Cooper play.
I'll tell you this right now.
Auburn.
I'll tell you this right now.
Auburn.
So I actually have a ton of connections in Dayton. Family who went there. Family who actually lives there. Friends who went there. I would go to that. I would go to that in a heartbeat. Real quick, what Brian was talking about before we go to break here. Like, isn't it incredible that they've gone on this streak at PBA when essentially every game has been like, you almost have to have it because they can't win on the road? Doesn't it make it a little bit more impressive that, like, every PBA game seems to have some sort of pressure on it because of their inability to close out away games? It's kind of crazy.
It's also, there's pressure that if you lose, the Superstars will come back. Nebraska has not lost since the Superstars performed at halftime of the Creighton game.
That was the worst.
That is a driving thing. I actually think, like Notre Dame has Play Like a Champion today.
Yeah.
I think there's a picture of the Superstars in the Nebraska locker room.
All right, big brain move. Big brain move here. Let's say they lose. Not on Thursday. They just lose at PBA. They're going to lose at some point. This won't go on forever.
Move to Devaney.
So the next game, they lose at PBA.
Yep.
The very next game, halftime show, you bring out the Superstars?
Only if there is the element of somebody may die, which enhances the halftime entertainment. Seriously.
So is that, you think Red Panda? I mean, I guess Red Panda once slipped. And she could.
Oh, speaking of Red Panda, let me just finish this thought on Bracket Matrix. So Nebraska is the last 8 seed.
Yeah. That's kind of generous.
Creighton shows up in some as an 11 seed. Really? Omaha shows up as a 16. I was scrolling through Twitter last night, and I saw Red Panda died. So I clicked on it.
Oh. San Francisco Chronicles?
Big deal at the zoo in Japan that they had a red panda die.
Oh.
But Red Panda is still with us. Thank God. What?
No, the lady that steals the name from the actual red panda did not die.
Okay.
I would have just gotten up and gone home.
Yeah, but I would have felt terrible.
My childhood would have died.
Twitter's got to understand. You got to have like some context. Like,
you can't say that.
I see Red Panda died, and I'm like, why should we even have the Final Four this year?
I'm calling my dad. And we're on the phone for an hour.
Look,
we're not doing it.
I don't mean to be making it.
Nope, we're not doing it. We're not killing Red Panda.
No, I'm saying that if she were to die, it would actually have a massive impact on the college basketball community. There would actually be.
It would have a massive impact on humanity.
Very, very sad. And I would be sad too. She's incredible at what she does. And she's affected a lot of people's lives with incredible entertainment and some of your best college basketball sporting events in the country.
I think probably her family, first and foremost, would be impacted.
Yes. I mean, obviously.
Probably over, Wayne Tinkle at Oregon State.
The NBA would be even more broken than it is because she is a major, she's been a constant.
Chris Collins is undefeated.
She fits. If there's an element that somebody may die during halftime, like with fire and knives and jumping off of things and balancing on that's a good halftime show.
I see a guy put a sword down his throat, and I have an acid reflux attack immediately just looking at it.
Those are the best halftime shows.
Things in the throat.
Like they're wondering why the Shimshammers haven't come back.
Yeah,
because they're in great shape. None of them are going to drop. They're on the floor. So
Gary likes a halftime show that has things go down people's throats.
Out of context?
Swords.
Is Hawk Tua doing half times?
Whoa. Shabbat did time.
Wow.
Hey.
I saw that.
What am I going to do without her?
Yeah.
If TikTok goes away.
They're going to cancel Haley.
Talk Tua to me.
Okay.
That's
the Jon Stewart on the Daily Show.
It's the side of TikTok Gary Sharp's on.
All right. Coming up next, Dan Jackson, head football coach at South Dakota State. Patrick Mahomes, again, congratulations. Had his third kid. Which is, you guys know what the names of the kids are?
Something Ray. Wasn't this one Ray?
Bronze, gold, Esther, something like that.
Well, you got two, but Esther?
Somebody's got to be there.
Yeah.
So Golden,
it's a middle child.
Bronze, and Sterling are the three Mahomes kids' names.
I dig it.
Sterling Sharp, should be in the Hall of
If
Fame.
their dad was not number 15, you know what would happen when they get to school.
Made fun of.
Sterling, Bronze, and Golden.
Golden Tate, yeah.
They're not bad names, though, if you think about
Golden Mahomes is not a good name.
But if they become an athlete?
Gold Mahomes. No.
Golden?
No, I don't like Golden. No.
Golden Pat Rule.
I love Sterling.
Great O-line coach.
That's like Sterling Mahomes is like the starter of like the CEO of a very, very rich banking company.
I know. People stop me on the street and they go, which Sharp brother do you like better, Shannon or Sterling?
Always been a Sterling guy.
And you were the third one.
If he's on the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame doesn't count.
Sterling got pushed to the side. Shannon took over.
Shannon's speech, he goes, I'm the first ever Hall of Famer that's got a brother who's better than him.
Smart man. At least in that speech. Yeah. D-Jack joins us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, time now to talk to, I don't know what you guys were doing at the age of 39, but the 22nd head coach in the history of South Dakota State football, Omaha native, good friend. He has been a frequent guest on the show. Going to be a little bit difficult to get on the show now because he's a head coach compared to being a coordinator. Dan Jackson joins us. Congratulations as the new head Jack.
Thanks, Sharpie. Anytime for you. I won't be. Maybe some other people may have a hard time getting me.
Wow.
But if you guys need a segment, I got you.
All right. So how did we do this? So, you're looking for a place to live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Jason Eck, who you guys had a nice run at Idaho, gets the gig at New Mexico, takes you along as the defensive coordinator. You're looking for a place, and now I'm talking to you in Brookings, and you're the head coach at South Dakota State. How did this all unfold so quickly?
Everything happens for a reason, Gary, and it was, gosh, I haven't had a day off since the quarterfinal game at Idaho. But that game, season ends at Idaho, and really thankful for the opportunity he had there, winning a season in the last 35 years. And Jason gets a shot to go to New Mexico. About 2 a.m. that night, he calls me in and says, "Hey, buddy, we're going to New Mexico. You're the DC. Let's do it." About 12 hours after that, Idaho is offering me the head coaching job there. Choose to kind of stick with Jason and those things, and then to go home for Christmas. And I'm back home in Omaha, like I try to get back for a few days every year, and get a phone call from South Dakota State, and I'm driving up here the next day, and it's been a whirlwind. I've got about 3 pairs of clothes with me because I just took a carry-on to Omaha, and I haven't been back to Idaho or Albuquerque since.
Lord.
Just rolling, man. Just rolling with it and trying to win every day, buddy.
Hey, so that explains the suit you were wearing at your press conference Friday.
Funny about the suit is, so I go to Jerry Ryan. That's like the only place in town to get a suit. So those are my guys there. Yeah. So my guy Dan at Jerry Ryan hooks me up with a suit before I officially come up here, and then I actually needed to have my wife go to Omaha and pick the suit up and bring it up here that morning. So I got the suit about an hour before the press conference.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, hey, Coach, Matt here. Just want to say congratulations. Thank you for coming on the show, man. It's a great honor to have you on. And once again, congrats. You're taking over a program with a ton of tradition, with a ton of history, but now it's your program. There's a lot to be said about what the Jackrabbits have done, but now it's yours. What is the one characteristic that you want people to know your program by? What's the one thing that you want people to associate with your program?
Yeah, just the word relentless. Everything we do. When you guys watch us play on Saturdays, I want it to look different from an effort standpoint. Every coach says that we need to play hard. That's not a new theme, but I do. I think we've all watched the game on Saturday, and you can tell a difference between a team that is everybody playing as hard as they possibly can, almost to the edge, not over it in terms of physicality, but I want that to be noticeable, and then I want us to be so violent that people think we're a little crazy, honestly, at times. So, and then the last part of it is you want to be really structured. So I want to look that we're sound and our guys are aligned right, and there's a high level of communication and there's clarity and the guys doing their jobs really fast. So playing as hard as you possibly can, being the most violent team every Saturday, and then being really sound. I think we've seen teams that play really hard, but whether it's coaching or whatever it may be, from a structure standpoint, it's not there. And you can play really hard and give up a lot of yards or not look great on offense or special teams. So those would be the 3 things that we're going to focus on and emphasize from a when you watch us play standpoint.
Yeah. New South Dakota State head coach Dan Jackson, one of our own right here from Omaha. He's back home in Brookings. So there's part of you getting the job, and full disclosure, you and I shared some thoughts about how you were looking at this. But there's also the part when you take over the job. Coach Rogers, who did a really good job at South Dakota State, leaves to go to Washington State, and there's players that are following. The portal is open. You got to add guys to the roster. You got to keep guys. Can you walk us through this whirlwind of recruiting guys, trying to retain guys, seeing guys go to a program where the former head coach is going? People are trying to poach your players. What has that been like over the last 2 weeks?
Definitely. Share a couple stories with you. First, there hasn't been change and transition like this at South Dakota State in over 30 years. Coach Stiglmeyer is really the one that built, sustained, was here through the Division II to Division I transition. That took time. everybody knows this as a power, but I got here in 2012, and the 2010 and 11 season, they had losing records. So it took a ton of time to be able to build the culture. Since 2012, we haven't missed the playoffs. And Jimmy Rogers so Coach Stig is a father figure mentor to me. Jimmy's a brother to me. Jimmy was in my wedding. We talk every few days, and everywhere I've went and the stops that I've made, I've tried to help him learn about the next step and the next level and what's it like at the Power 5, Power 4, I suppose. So I'm excited for Jimmy to get that opportunity and his family, and was excited there. But for us, when you take over a head coaching job these days, there's the Indiana model. You leave JMU and you go to Indiana, and it's how many guys can I take? I think there's advantages of that, and I don't fault coaches for trying to do that. There's familiarity in scheme, relationships are already built. You can probably accelerate your success better.
Yeah.
And so, I'm all good with the guys that are moving on and wishing the best of luck. The truth in a couple funny deals is there's like 45 guys in the portal when I got here or trying to go into the portal, and I think we'll lose like 13. So that was that was just a byproduct of as soon as I got the job. I was actually at my dad's office in the travel transport building down there on 72nd, and I just called every guy on our team. I just went down the list, and the amount of guys that once we got a chance to connect and talk and them hear the vision and them understand what was going to happen, that just canceled a flight out there or turned their car around. I mean, we had a guy that had turned his dorm key in and packed his locker here and was driving to a different school, and
wow.
And he turned his car around, and we moved him back into the dorms, and we got him. So there's there's just some work involved in that, and so the first thing to me was retain the roster, and I feel that we did a really good job of that. I think some key guys on our offensive line stood up, and our quarterback, so some influential people made some comments. There's players from the NFL whose loyalty lies with us, the Tucker Kraft, the Dallas Goddard, the Mason McCormick, the Isaiah Davis. I could probably name 15 others.
Yeah.
That they got on the phone and called our current team. Our Jackrabbit Former Players Association was calling guys for me, Coach Stig. So player retention. And then the tough part for us is we started school on Monday. So, there's some advantages to schools that don't start for another week, to be able to get transfers in. So for us, we kind of, we're going to add 12 guys to the roster in a short time. Thankful for the administration to help me get that through. And I kind of went with some guys that we knew. We got a defensive lineman from Iowa Western. Well, I know Aaron Terry, and I know Mike Blackburn, and obviously Coach Stroh, Kobe Brett's from Nebraska. There's just, to me, if we could add the right pieces, but we had a previous relationship, it makes sense. And then now we have some time to be able to settle in, finish the 2025 class, which has a lot of talent in it because a lot of Division I schools haven't thought about 2025 since July. And then we will be able to focus on what we need in the spring. But love the pieces that we have, though.
Coach, you know better than anyone that the coaching industry is crazy. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows. I'm curious, is there a pivotal moment in your career, or maybe moments in your career, that led you to now being the head coach of South Dakota State?
Probably not one moment, but I said this in my press conference, but I think you have to have a certain level of confidence to be successful in anything. And so when I got here in 2012 as a GA, if they would have elevated me as the head coach then, in my mind, I would have been ready for it, and I would have found a way.
Yeah.
Clearly, I was not ready, but I just think that the belief in yourself. But to me, it was the steady grind and the build here, which Gary and people in Nebraska saw because they saw the recruiting efforts and the things that we were trying to do and change here. Gary, you've seen the facilities change here from an investment standpoint. So I saw this program be built, and then going to Northern Illinois, Thomas Amick is a close friend now and a very good mentor. And he came from the NFL. So he taught me how to build a roster and how to be creative and think outside of the box, which prepared me for the portal world. Clark Lee is one of the sharpest, most methodical, detailed people. And I needed to learn some of those things from him. And, and then clearly then get back with Jason Eck and learn a lot from him. And so really all three of the guys I worked for after this were new. It was their first stint as a head coach. And I don't know why or whatever, but I've always found a knack to try to be close to our head coach. And so whether it's developing a collective at Idaho, whether it's being in Coach Hammock's office, talking personnel or the roster and those sort of things, I've tried to find a way to be the right-hand man of a head coach. And all those things probably are what prepared me.
Are you lifting weights?
You know what? I am in our indoor, and I want to. You get one shot to make a great first impression, right? And our players have been through a lot in the last couple of weeks. So I'm getting here at 5:30 every day because we have a 6 a.m. lift group. We have an 8 a.m. lift group.
Wow.
And I'm in here spotting guys and supporting them and learning about them, learning faces.
Fantastic.
So, our whole staff's in the weight room with them until about 10, just, helping that way. So, no, I got guys walking. They're doing farmer carries with like sleds right now.
What do you squat nowadays, Coach? Where are you at? What's your squat at?
My L5 vertebrae is nothing. Squatting 0. Body weight squat. I need to start doing some cardio. I'll get on a better routine now.
Absolutely.
Hey, when you were at South Dakota State, you recruited heavily here in Nebraska, and that became the Nebraska Jacks. You go to Northern Illinois, you got guys from here or over at Northern Illinois, even at Vanderbilt with Dom Rizak. You go to Idaho, you're still paying attention to Nebraska. I told you made an offer when you got to New Mexico to Jones at Omaha North, and I'm like, that's a good move. I think people are excited. You mentioned Kobe Bretz is going to transfer from Nebraska to come play for you. I guess that as you put your staff together, this state will once again become very prevalent up in Brookings.
No question about it. And I would have loved to recruit it harder when I was at Vanderbilt. And, there's things that make sense and don't. Then I go to Idaho, and Seattle was my area because that was the big city close. And, you got to at those places, you got to figure out where you're going to spend your resources. Well, here, our resources are going to be heavily spent in the state of South Dakota and the surrounding areas. And then the connection with Nebraska is more of, I know the high school coaches and I trust them and they trust me. And I know all these different families and and now to have the former players that came here that had success being able to reach out to those guys as well. I was joking as we're putting the staff together. I was like, I don't know which one of you poor schmucks is going to be the one that gets put in Nebraska, but I'm probably going to be on you pretty good. So I said, I can't do it now completely, but whoever's down there, trust me, they'll have a recruiting assistant down there and it'll be me. And, so I look forward to it. I still think that though more schools are investing in the state, I just don't think that there's a ton of schools investing in the state that make more sense than South Dakota State. Win a national championship, be 3 hours from home, have some of the best facilities in the country, opportunity to play in the NFL. And then with roster limits, we're not really subjected to the 105. So there's going to be some things that, that even provide more opportunity than when I first started here. So no, I look forward to getting down there.
Hey, I would be remiss if I did not ask, what is Nebraska getting in Andrew Marshall, who you coached last year?
Long story with Andrew, but you guys are going to be happy with what you get. Andrew was the only first-team all-conference player in the corner in the Big Sky. All the other DBs were safeties. Watch the Oregon game is what I would tell you. But you're going to get a really high-character kid, over a 3.5 student, family-oriented guy. And I don't want to get too into the weeds on it, but before anything even transpired with Andrew, he's the type of kid that when you build a relationship with him, he came into my office about all of this a month before the season was over and was able to mentor him through it. So he's a genuine, authentic kid, and he wasn't going to leave Idaho unless it all aligned. And for him, it was, feel good about an opportunity to play. He knows he needs to earn it. Have it make sense for his family. And then he really wanted to be around coaches that could help take him to the NFL. And so I just, I let him make his decision. But my advice was, buddy, you're not going to be around better people and better leadership. You also wanted support from, he wanted to be somewhere that loved football. So I said, hey, man, I'm biased. I'm from there. But I think at the end of the day, there may be a fit for you there once he decided to go in. So I would, and then just don't forget about his punt and kick return ability. We just threw him back there, guys. It's not like he practiced it all summer. We needed a returner early in the season. He just started scoring touchdowns. He's not going to overthink it. You don't have to overcoach him. You just put him back there and let him do his thing. So I'm really excited about him.
Well, I know there's a lot of people excited that you're back in the area, especially your wife and her family and your family. I'm elated for you. I think this is a great fit. You're going to do a fantastic job. It's the start of this journey that you've been on, but now you're the head man, and I expect better tickets and more access.
Hey, you just let me know. I got club seats waiting for you in my office, and then when you're up for a hoops game, you pick where we're going to lunch, and I got you, buddy.
I better be tagging along on that, Gary. I don't expect to be included in the deal, Coach, but I'll be there for one or two of those things if you give it to me.
Hey, you know what? You're down there helping Gary out, and been doing a great job. So you got the invite.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
DJ, congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Hey,
talk soon.
Yep. That's Dan Jackson, the new head coach at South Dakota State. One of our own here in Omaha. Yep.
Impressive guy.
And we tried for a while to get him not the head job, but the assistant job at Nebraska. And now he's a head guy at South Dakota State.
He's going. I mean, it's a heck of a program to take over, and it's one of those jobs where it could be a springboard to places for sure because of the history they have there. But there's nothing wrong with being there for a very, very long time and winning and making a great FCS program. And I think that he's got a great opportunity to do it, and he's a great. Above all, like coaching and football and knowing stuff is important, but in this day and age in college football, it's all about being a great guy. He's a great guy.
We'll come back, put a wrap on this Tuesday edition of Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, later tonight, Providence and Creighton right here on the Zone. Enjoy. Be your first trip into the Chi. Well,
No, I've been there
since you
before.
worked here.
Since I worked here, yes.
You've been there before.
Oh, I hope you get a
will-
picture of Billy.
Yeah, I don't,
Maybe get a picture of Connor at work.
I'll probably go down and say hi to Connor.
You should.
Maybe make Connor come up to you. You're in the. I think you're in the Lexus Club. They still call it the Lexus Club.
What?
You might be
Really?
in the Lexus Club.
I'll
Yeah.
fan you.
It's a 7:30 tip tonight for the Jays and the Friars.
By far the nicest seats I've ever sat at in the Chi, even for like concerts and stuff like that. I've never sat in better seats until today. Shout out people who set me up for them. Really appreciate it.
The company?
The company.
That is the home of Blue Jay Athletics.
Shout out 1620 for
Thank
setting
you.
me up.
Shout out your
Shout out.
superiors.
Yeah.
They like you.
They do.
You probably need to dress up a little bit where you're going.
Sweater
Yes.
vest.
You really think so?
Boat shoes.
Do you actually think?
Yeah, you can't wear what you're wearing now.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Put a tie on.
Yeah. People are like, they're like, kid.
jeans, white shirt, Tommy
Kid.
Bahama
Kid.
quarter zip.
230.
Get out Doug's
Good
seats.
view of the baseline. Up there
See,
you
here's
go.
the thing. Here's the thing. I am a reporter on Creighton basketball, and I know I'm a Husker. Am I gonna get? Do I get docked points for as like I don't know, like for being a Nebraska grad and then willingly, actively going to Creighton basketball games?
Just do what Shafe did. Wear a hat
No?
that says sports.
I hope I don't want my street cred to go down.
I go to a lot of Creighton basketball games.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
I like basketball.
I'm just making sure.
I like
I don't think you'll see me in
I like people at Creighton.
I don't think you'll see me in a Blue Jay hoodie or wearing the colors or anything.
That's what
like
they said
that.
about Tommy Frazier.
Oh,
But,
that baby blue could really be bringing out.
I'm
what
telling you right now, blue looks great on me. I look great in Cubs gear. When I wear Cubs gear, over. Why do you think I clean up at Wrigley? Why have Tinder when you can just go to a Friday bleacher game at 7:05 p.m.?
That's what Harry Carey used to say all the time.
Good luck tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Gary and Matt at 1620 The Zone.